Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the first ever Preston Innovations podcast. In these series of podcasts, we're going to have all of our Preston anglers. We're going to go in depth into their lives, their backstories, everything involved with their career. And we're also going to touch on some controversial topics. So stay tuned. Our first guest is none other than Des Ship. So,
why is that, Adam?
Because I think a lot of people want to know your story. Des.
Oh, do they now? Well, Adam, that's interesting. But yeah, well, I'll go along with it and see how it pans out.
Yeah, well, obviously you've been associated with a brand for nearly as long as I've been alive. If that
It
makes...
is 20 odd years. So it's been a good journey, a long journey, and it's still going strong, which is what it's all about, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah. Obviously, you've been involved heavily with the brand, and I think the progression within the brand itself and your career has sort of been entwined with each other. So I thought you were the perfect person to get on to start with.
Oh, thank you very much.
I want to go right back to the beginning, though. When we start this podcast, I want to know what got Des Ship into fishing.
And when I had hair, Adam.
Well, yeah, when you had hair.
That's a long time ago, mate. That.
Hair
A
and less
long time.
wrinkles.
Yeah, I've been on holiday. I got a bit of a tan, so they're covered up a little bit. But yeah, it's been my life fishing from my parents, my brother. So yeah, it's been without fishing, I ain't got. Well, I have got other things, obviously, but fishing is my life basically.
Yeah,
and it has been for.
What is it that actually got you into fishing then? Was it through your father or?
Yeah, I think
grandparents?
back then fishing for a lot of young guys, kids, it was they were brought into fishing somehow, whether it was a granddad, a grandparent, or whatever, and then their parents, if they were lucky enough, their parents went. And that's what happened to me. My parents, my mum and dad, used to love fishing. They used to go.
Both your mum and dad.
Yeah, my mum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my dad used to get his hair right off if my mum beat him, which was quite a lot. And yeah, they loved it. They used to go to Estate Lakes, the Gloucester Canal. That was like their main two things. And I was sort of towed along because I was the youngest. I got a brother and two sisters, and I was the youngest. So obviously, when they went to work, I either had to stay on with my nan or I had to go fishing.
Oh, it was an easy decision then, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, my nan was pretty good, to be fair. She used to cook me dinner and all that. But I used to go fishing. I used to fish this lake called Talkworth Lake, right by Leyhill Prison. It used to be. It was at the back of Leyhill Prison. And when I first went going, my sort of mission, I used to get bored within a few minutes. My mum used to try and get me fishing. My dad never had, a bit like me, no patience at all. He would just want to go fishing, obviously working all week. But my mission then, really, there used to be a stream that used to come into the lake, and my mission was to stop that stream, whatever it cost.
Catch it before it gets into that.
Yeah,
stream.
I just had to build the biggest dam going, and I used to spend hours and hours, like literally go home covered in clay, and I used to think, yeah, a great day that was. And then and then over time, obviously I used to go up in the woods at the back of this lake, and just like when the conkers were coming down, like collect loads of conkers, go up in the trees, just wrecking the joint basically, apart from fishing. And one day I remember it. I reckon I was about 9, something like that. And I remember watching the carp feeding at one end of this lake. It was really, really silty. And you used to watch the bubbles, like where the carp were feeding on the silt, and you see these big plumes of bubbles come out. You see like the tail patterns. And then when I seen that, and then I went and got my rod, put a lump of bread on, cast out to it, and you see the bubbles come up to the bread, and then the float. Now I was hooked.
Yeah. There's nothing more, like looking back when you were a kid, there's nothing more exciting, is there, when you see that float go under the first time.
It's brilliant. And then a great big eruption, because you're only fishing like 18 inches of water. And that was it. And then I just thought my brother was fishing anyway back then, but he was, he had a young family, so it was like trying to take me as well.
Was he quite a bit older than you, was he?
Yeah, he's what was he, 10 or 12 years older than me.
Oh, right, okay.
So I was the youngest of the four. And I did go fishing with him. I used to go on the rivers more than like my parents. He took me on the River Avon, and we used to go to a place called Queensfield, which is famous Laycock Abbey. just up from there. And we used to go stick float fishing for chub, roach, barbel. Barbel were introduced in the Avon, God knows when, but there was some barbel, and that was, when you looked at barbel,
Yeah, you knew about it.
it's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And my brother was really, really good. And then we used to go to the Cotswold Water Park, and we started fishing for the tench and the bream. And that's how I sort of progressed. Really, just went on and on and on.
So what actually got you into match fishing then? Obviously, you were going pleasure fishing.
Yeah.
What actually got you into competitive match fishing?
Well, I never had the confidence. I think back then it was more about enjoying what you were doing in the back of your mind, because my brother used to go match fishing a little bit, and I used to think, I wouldn't mind having a go at that, but the confidence wasn't there to do it. And there was a guy called Ian Polster, and anybody in the Bristol area would know him. It was called Bloke. That was his nickname, Bloke, for some reason.
Bizarre.
And he had this dog, and this dog used to just go everywhere with him, just sit there all day, just like stare at him, never done nothing. I think the dog's name was Kylie or something, or Kaylee, something like that. And so, and I met him. I started fishing he got me into match fishing, really. He sort of introduced me to a team called North Avon, which was the area where I used to live.
Yeah.
Then I met Steve Mayo. There's loads of other people that I met. And I started match fishing, and that was how I got into it. I'd never actually fished an open match until basically after team fishing.
Oh, really?
So team fishing was my first match, really, from meeting.
And what level was that team competing at?
They were all right. Yeah, they used to fish winter leagues and stuff, not super leagues and stuff.
Yeah,
They used to fish winter leagues, and then
because obviously going back then, team fishing was a lot bigger than what it is now.
Well, team fishing, I would say, for a match angler was your number one thing to do because of the numbers. You never had numbers in open matches, really. Maybe on rivers and that, but commercials weren't even in our area, like the Southwest, weren't really great.
I suppose commercial fishing back then probably wasn't even a thing either, was it? It was more like natural lake style.
It was a thing. I'll tell you what the biggest thing was, is when there used to be a close season, we used to all travel down to Devon.
Yeah.
So that's where the close season used to end. They used to be able to fish all the way through, and we used to fish like around Columpton area, and we used to go to all the little farm lakes. It was brilliant because obviously it's all shut up here, like Southwest, anything up north. And we used to go down there, fish loads of different. It was awesome because you have these little lakes, all not full of carp. It was quite difficult fishing. It was never solid like some of the venues we go to now.
Yeah, more of a natural lake rather than a.
Yeah, and it was great because it was just like, oh, this is brilliant. But obviously back then we were all never had no money. We were a bit skint, so trying to get the fuel money to go down there.
But that was back in the day when you could get 3 people in a car, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Used to put everything on my back. All the river matches, basically everything went on the back. I had a little like plastic Galaxy box. The reels were in the box. Used to make the rods up on the bank. Crow quills were all tied up on winders. Yeah,
slightly different to now.
Yeah, massive, absolutely massive difference now. And I do miss that style of fishing. The problem is now, as you get older as well, you need convenience.
Yeah.
And our rivers in my area, unfortunately, the convenience side is pretty rare. You've got to like push a load of gear about. And when I started my river fishing, pole fishing was non-existent, really. It was all about waggler, stick float feeder. So then poles were introduced, if you like. Then you had to sit on your box.
Yeah.
Then you needed a platform and all that. And then all of a sudden, the trolleys come available. So it all come along, and it all made everything. You were more comfortable, and you probably caught more fish because you were pole fishing.
Yeah.
Obviously, the European style of fishing come into it, so boring it in. So then you had to carry more ground bait. You know what I mean? So it all sort of
visions of a teenage Des just throwing loads of balls of ground bait.
It's great. It was brilliant. But that back then, it was like when we heard about it, it was like, what? Chucking 10, 15 balls of ground bait in soil in and catching a fish a chuck over it. You're like absolute rubbish. And then it sort of progressed from there. But that was me. Match fishing started basically from a team, and then I got to know Steve Mayo. Yeah. And then we started fishing. He eventually got me to go around to fishing Morelands Farm, which was my first commercial I ever fished.
Was that where you fished your first open match? Or?
No, I can't remember where I fished my first open match. It was probably on something like the Kent Avon Canal.
Do you remember how you did?
Well, I can't remember the first. I'm a bit sort of lackadaisy on what happened, but I remember winning a match on the Kent Avon Canal with £2 14 ounces, and it fished horrific. And I caught on bread punch. I caught some gudgeon in Little Roach, and I remember that was a big match back then. That was like 100 odd people, and I actually it was horrendous. And I just thought, well, I weighed in, won my section. I thought, well, at least I won my section. Got back, and everybody's like, you won the match. And I'm like, you what? So I think that was probably like the first match, and that was it then for me. That I'd never look back from that day really, because that gave me the confidence that all those, I don't say it wasn't practicing, but all the days you went on your own fishing, you went with your mates fishing, that helps you massively.
Yeah, I think when you're surrounded by especially good anglers, it helps you progress as an angler as well, and also gives you more enthusiasm because you want to beat the people that you're with, don't you? Yeah. So obviously moving on from the open matches, you then got into Thatcher's.
Yeah, I went from North Avon to Thatcher's, which was like I would say going back, probably one of the best teams in the southwest area. Different bunch of guys. Steve Mayo come along. There was lots of people there that were good and good anglers, good river anglers, good canal anglers, and I was settled into that team for quite a few years, to be honest. And then what happened then was basically we started fishing Super League rounds. So you had the Super League for your area, and if you won that area, then you go through to the Super League final. And we started fishing against the likes of Dorking. I think like it was Saints, Starlets, all those teams. And we done all right. We had a few.
They're still a very good team now, aren't they?
They are a good team. Yeah, things have changed massively, like everybody knows out there. We did have a couple I'll tell you a story actually. It was a guy, Gary Everidge, he lives in Devizes, fantastic angler. And there was a guy called Mark Pink. Anybody in the Southwest would know both of those. Mark Pink, I don't know whether he still goes fishing, but Gary does. Gary fishes so light, it's ridiculous. And we went to the finals at Hayford, which is up near Oxford by Canal Star Lake. And it was like basically blasting casters. And I used to say, look, don't, because they were like back then, it was 16-meter pole, it would be like going out like that and then like dripping down to the front.
To lean back
you were wet. We were younger then, so it didn't hurt so much. And Gary and Mark were very similar. They were good, they're brilliant anglers, but they used to do a lot of canal fishing. So that style of fishing there, hooking big carp against the far bank, hooking them, getting the pole back to stop them from doing you in the far bank was probably not their sort of thing. And we done really well. And I remember one of the finals after the match, we come back, we said, "Oh, what have you done?" "Yeah, I've done all right. I've done all right. Gary, how have you done?" "Well, I've done all right. I've lost 20 carp." And I'm
20?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, "You what?" "Yeah, I had to go down to like 012. And I'm like, "No, what? Why? Why didn't you just hook another 8 and get them all out?" But that was like, when you look back, it was really funny. Back then it wasn't, because it was like, come on, guys. I mean, you were fishing for carp. All those sort of things. But we done all right. Like the likes of Dorking, there was Will Rays and Steve Saunders, loads of those anglers were fishing for Dorking then, and we looked up to them. Essex County,
very good team back in the day.
Yeah, mega teams, and they used to just like clear it up really. And then the actual story of Dorking come along. Steve Mayo knew, I've actually got a picture of him. He used to be Peter Drennan's right-hand man. Pete, I can't remember his second name. Anyway, he fished for Dorking as well. And Steve, on the way home, he said, "Oh, Pete has come up to me and said, he wants me and you to join Dorking." And I'm like, Christ almighty, Steve. I mean, that is like, great.
Which is a big step up from where you were.
Yeah, and bear in mind, we're skint.
Yeah.
We ain't got no money. We're like both, mortgages, probably just got, and all that.
What age were you then?
I don't know. I reckon I was 20 odd. mid-20s, I reckon. So
Yeah,
around
so you'd
there.
have had a young family in
Yeah,
the house and everything.
yeah. So it was like, it was really. But Steve said he did say to me, Steve. I remember Steve saying to me, he's in Thailand, living in Thailand now, Steve, and he said, Des, if you don't do it, you need to do it, even though I might not want to do it. You need to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well. So anyway, we bit the bullet and we said, right, we're going to do it. So we joined Dorking, and then obviously. The sort of history side of it is already there. You know what I mean? We won, I think we won 10 Super League finals on the trot. And yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was first getting into match fishing, Dorking were winning everything. It was they were the team.
Yeah, it was mega.
Wasn't
It was brilliant. It was good fun. It was a lot. And Steve Saunders, I think for Steve, you had so much respect for Steve, and he was like a manager.
Yeah.
If he phoned you up and said, "What are you doing this weekend?" I mean, you'd be like,
well, there was clearly something he was doing right, because, like I say, at the time, Dorking were phenomenal, weren't they? They literally won everything that there was to win.
we wanted to fish for him.
Yeah,
he had that like management role.
Yeah, he's obviously got a lot of passion for it as well.
Yeah, and if he phoned you up and said, "What are you doing this weekend?" and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to," all right, I'll come over and have a practice then for the next round. Do you know what I mean? So it was like that, and then the team was so strong. Very, very strong.
Yeah, the team of anglers was a joke, really.
Yeah, it was.
When you look back at it now,
on bloodworm fishing and natural fishing with carp and that. And back then there wasn't no pellet fishing really. It was all meat, corn, casters, and so on. And then it sort of progressed from there. It was brilliant times. So yeah, it was. That's the journey, or part of the journey.
Part of the journey. Obviously, there was a next step on from that, which was call up for England. But
that was part of the Dorking side of it, really, because obviously I started fishing with bloodworm more. Will Rays and Steve Gardner, even Steve Saunders himself. Steve and Will were already fishing for England. And I remember Steve Saunders saying to me, "Des, if you keep going, you'll get a call up." I'm thinking, I don't know about that. And just things happened. You've done really well in Winter League finals. I remember I think I won the Winter League final with bloodworm. It was really tough on the Granion Canal. It was really weird, actually, because when I first started fishing with Dorking, you were known as like Morelands Farm. So me and Steve used to go to Morelands all the time in Woodlands View. And all we used to get on the Granion Canal in London, there's no carp in here, mate. And I'm like, all right.
Well, just turn up and beat them anyway.
Yeah. And then all that thing over years and years, you've got a lot of respect. And I get asked a lot from the younger generation, Des, how can I become what you've become? And I'm like, my journey, I've not just come out of gone into fishing.
No, you've worked bloody hard to get where you are, aren't you? Let's not beat about the bush.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but you've never done that journey thinking this is what's going to end. It was just part of your life.
Yeah,
like getting sponsored.
But I'm sure you've made a lot of sacrifices to get to where you are today.
Yeah, massively.
I don't think probably. I mean, we'll get onto this in a little bit, but I don't think people probably appreciate the sort of effort and the sacrifices you have to make to get to where you are.
Yeah, I think any sport, and fishing is probably one of the worst sports.
Well, it's extremely selfish.
It is very selfish, and you when you get sponsored, and we'll probably talk about that later on. When you do get sponsored, that comes with added pressure. Yeah, especially a full-time angler. And you get sucked into a way of life, and you know what I mean. And
well, that's it. Like the role that you are now doing is not. I know it's work, but it's not work, is it? It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, yeah, and it is a lot of travelling, a lot of effort, and trying to do what I do, like natural venue, feeder fishing. Luckily for me, which a lot of the younger guys will probably never see that, I was brought into the natural fishing. Yeah. And then brought into the commercial fishing, because commercial fishing started at like.
I honestly think that makes a better angler, because obviously you're used to fishing venues that aren't so good.
Yeah.
And then when you move on to venues which are obviously heavily stocked and a lot better, you're already sort of like one step ahead than people that just come into it, where it's like now, for instance, where it's predominantly commercial fishing. If you take some of these anglers and put them on some harder venues, for instance, they haven't got that skill set that
Yeah,
It is tough,
possibly where I've been through that, so
Yeah.
it does help massively. But yeah, it definitely helps massively. I don't do as much of that sort of fishing as I used to.
No, but I don't think the matches are there anymore, are they?
Not
That's the
really,
problem.
not in my area anyway. I try and do some like little 2-dayers and stuff like that. It's great fishing. Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
go on these reservoirs. Some of them are like Tamar,
Yeah,
for
it's
example. It's
phenomenal,
absolutely
isn't it? Yeah.
brilliant fishing. It's mega.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's it is. It comes with the territory. You've got to, it is hard sometimes. It is hard to like the feeder masters, like trying to get into the feeder masters. Then you've got to go fish that against the guys. This is how things have changed nowadays, I think. And I always use feeder masters as probably one of them things. Them guys that fish that are doing that every day of their life.
Oh yeah, and they're extremely good at it as well.
Bloody hard. They're hard to
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah.
So for me to just get off from what I normally do and go and have a go at that,
Mm.
and that's where you get. I think over time you build your reputation about becoming what you do.
Yeah,
You
I think
know.
you go down two routes, don't you? You either go down the natural venue sort of England style,
Yeah.
or you go down the commercial style, or you do what you've done and do everything.
Everything. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It is. It's a lot. It is. It's a lot of information. My brain. On a serious note, I do.
But there's very few people that can just go to any venue and do that style of fishing and do it very well.
Now it's getting worse. I
Nowadays,
think.
yeah.
I think it's getting
Yeah.
worse. I think because the younger generation are brought straight into commercial fishing, where
Yeah.
the money is.
Yeah, yeah.
They're chasing that
yeah.
money, which will probably be one of your questions
Yeah,
later.
we'll get onto that in a
Yeah.
little bit. But I just want to go back to England. So,
Yeah.
how did Des Ship get that phone call to be?
Well, I actually had a
Wanted to fish for
phone
England.
call from Mark Addy,
Okay.
who's no longer
Yeah,
the
yeah.
England manager. And I've actually got a picture of Mark Addy in one of these photo things I'll show you when he was a bit younger, same as me. And he said, "Oh, how would you fancy fishing the Home International at Port Talbot Dock in Wales?"
Oh, right, okay, yeah,
And that is like a bomb site.
yeah. It's very deep there as well, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's very deep. And I'm like, I've never been there before.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, no, I did. I actually went there and fished a feeder match there in the winter when it was
So am I
really
right in
cold.
thinking that's is it by some steelworks or
Port
something?
Talbot Docks.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is right by the steelworks.
yeah, yeah.
And I said, okay, all right. And obviously I was fishing with Dorkin. I spoke to Will. I spoke to Stevie because they were in the team as well. Sean Ashby, Alan Scoffhorn, and I think, what I can remember, Stu Conroy. That was the
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
And we went there. It was 10 metres deep. So you're fishing 11 metres to hand.
Nice.
Yeah, what a fantastic first day of fishing.
Yeah.
No, so we practiced. We had loads of various things happen to us. You'd strike and there'd be no bolt shot left, like so much just at your bolt shot. And we had loads of tangles because you were fishing 10 metres down. You had to drop your rig straight down. So anyway, I ended up fishing, I think 021. Bear in mind we're fishing for roach and skimmers. I fished 021 mainline power line to stop the tangles.
Yeah.
And things moved on with shotting patterns and that from then. And the first day, I think I won my section. And that was
So what was the style of fishing? Are you chucking balls in, or
just chucking balls of
balls
ground
in?
bait in, fishing over the top, catching hand-sized skimmers, a
Right.
few roach in 10, 11 metres of water. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the first day, absolutely fine. Lovely day. No wind, no rain. Absolutely fine.
Mm.
We went back to the hotel. I actually stayed with Alan Scoffhorn on that one. And back then, you had a quick look at the forecast. Now you're on your phone all the time, aren't you?
What year was this then, roughly?
It's about 16 years ago, I reckon. I would say something like that.
Mm.
So yeah, quite a while. And then the second, well, I remember being in the hotel. Alan was snoring, so I didn't get much sleep. And he'll probably say he wasn't, but he was. And it hammered it down. I mean, we were in a hotel.
You are in Wales, is to be expected.
Yeah. There's a little, well, I say a little stream. There's like a river that runs by the side of the docks, which obviously feed the docks, and then it carries on down to the estuary or whatever. Literally, it was over this weir. You could have peed over it more than what it was on the first day. So we had all this rain. The second day, we drove down into the docks. This river was like a Zambezi. And I mean, it was like that. Like, I'm like, Christ almighty, that is going straight into the docks.
Ah.
Right, now this might sound absolutely crazy. Anyway, get to the docks. It wasn't too bad. It looked pretty similar to the Saturday.
Did it put a lot of colour into the water?
A little bit, but not as much as what you'd think. It's a big place, the docks.
Oh, yeah.
Bear in mind, we had a gale force wind as well.
Nice when you're fishing 10 metres deep.
Gale force. And you had to fish a 4 metre landing, a keep net, just to get it into the water. You probably 4 metres off the water, at least, I would say, on some bits. So cut a long story short, we fished it exactly the same. We all blew out. So we've gone from winning it to basically blowing it. And I remember Mark Haddy coming up to me and saying, Des, have you plumbed up yet? And I'm like, have you plumbed up again? I'm like, no. He said, the water's gone down like 2 metres. And my rig has not moved. I'm not drunk when I say this, right? My rig has not moved. My float was shotted perfectly and it's dropped ridiculous and nothing's happened.
Nothing.
And I'm like, what is happening, right? And anyway, we done rubbish. The French ended up winning it in the end. They started fishing down by these pilings where you're sat on for rudd in bits and pieces, and they ended up winning it. And we done absolutely rubbish. And I thought, that's my chances gone. But anyway, when we packed up, we went up. The main docks was down here. And we went sort of packed up, drove up, and at the top of the dock, it was completely dry. And you could see old tyres stuck out of the sill. Yeah, honestly, I've never seen nothing like that. Unless you were there to see it.
That's a serious amount of water to go missing as well.
And it didn't move. You'd think it'd be like towing off, holding back, and it never moved. It was such a strange place. And then I thought I blew it. I honestly thought that's the end of it. I'll come first on the first day, last on the second day. Absolutely devastated.
But did all the team come last, or was it?
Virtually, yeah. We blew it. And I went home really gutted. Back then as well, when you look at my gear, I remember Brian Gay.
Were you sponsored at this point?
I was sponsored,
you would have been sponsored by Preston, yeah.
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was sponsored by Preston. But Preston back then never done a box.
No.
That's before they actually...
The brand was very different to what it is now.
Very different, yeah. Moved on, massively. And I had, what was the box I had? It might have been a Boss box.
Yeah.
And Steve Gardner actually said to me, he did come up to me during the week, during the practice session. He said, Des, you need to sort your gear out. I had a Boss box, and if you remember, you had 2 little hand wheels on the side. Yeah. They had them little pole hooks, and that's what I was using to ball it in. And like Stevie was sponsored by Milo.
Yeah, so we
got back there, and they used to do a lot of, theirs was like, European style was perfect. And he said, you need to sort your gear out, Des. He said, just ain't good enough. I had like a little metal tray. Yeah, I had to go home and have a good think about that. And then luckily Preston, virtually from that, they started introducing boxes and everything moved on.
This would have been well before off boxer, I think.
Yes.
16
Not
years.
far off.
Oh, yeah, it'd have been
a little bit further on, I think. But it wasn't, maybe a year or two when they first brought their first box out. And I went home absolutely gutted. I was happy in one respect because I'd done well on the Saturday, and I was absolutely gutted because of the result on the Sunday. And I actually did phone up Mark Addy. I got the courage. I thought it was winding me up so much, and I just phoned him up and I said, "Look, I really need to know, is that game over?"
Yeah.
And he basically said, "Oh, well, we don't know yet." I'm like, "Well, that was a good phone call, wasn't it?" And put the phone down. Then I was more wound up then, so I'm thinking, "Well, what's going to happen?" And then I had a phone call the following year to go to the Europeans.
Oh, so you couldn't have done that bad then?
No. So, I think Mark Downs phoned me up, or Mark Addy, can't remember which, and they said, we want you to come to the Europeans. You probably won't be fishing. We want you to come as a sort of a
bank runner or sixth person.
Yeah, sixth person. And I managed to I got in the team. It was on a very, very tough canal in Holland or Belgium. And we absolutely walked it. We had a fantastic result.
So who was in the team at that point?
I think it's the same team.
Was it?
Yeah, basically. And then we went. Then I went to the Worlds the same year.
Yeah,
I think, and we won that as well. And we had the journey. Then I was just flat out straight into it. It was like a really quick Six Nations, Euros, Worlds. And then you just become part of the team.
So that sort of leads me on to my next point, which was, at what point did you become a professional angler, and what led to that opportunity? Because obviously, for people that don't know, you were working a full-time job while still fishing for England for a number of years.
Yeah, a lot of years.
Yeah.
The pressures were massive. You know, I had a full-time job. I used to work continental shifts on a printing company. And then obviously my fishing career was sort of going up and up and up. Ricky Till, unfortunately, not with us anymore. You know, we had a chat. He's like, look, financially, we'll help you out because obviously, you know, you're having time off. I used to have 6 weeks off a year, unpaid leave at one time. Yeah, it was like ridiculous.
Yeah, so obviously that put a hell of a lot of pressure on you as to provide for your family, pay for all your bills. And
everything. Everything. The problem is, like you said, Adam, you either say, I got to stop, or you say you only get one chance at it. And I just thought, I got to go with it. I'll just keep going. I never thought of it like I'm just going to chuck the whole lot in and go for it. It was not like that because you
just in that moment you just wanted to do.
Yeah, and your job was priority. Without your job, you can't go fishing.
Yeah.
So the job was always priority, and then the fishing was getting very near priority because it was just taking over.
Especially when you start representing your country and on top of that doing well each year as well, because the England team at that point in time were they probably number 1, number 2 in the world.
For quite a few years. And then it just sort of went on from that, really. I started fishing. I was a part of the England team for, I think, 15 years. You know, we had our ups and downs because when I first got in the England team, you could go on the bank and there was probably 5 teams that could possibly win that competition.
Yeah, obviously a lot of these countries are now caught up massively. Especially some of those Eastern European countries, which were, I don't want this to sound how it's going to sound, but they were not at the level because the kit wasn't available to them basically, and the knowledge wasn't there, was it?
I remember walking along the bank the first time I fished the Europeans in Belgium or Holland, like I said, about like the result we had there, and some of them were sat on like little plastic boxes. And I was like,
I remember seeing pictures when I was in the magazines and stuff when I was a kid, and you'd think, why are they even bothering attending?
It's incredible. And in 15 years, not even that, I would say within 8 years, you've gone from that to looking along the bank and you couldn't tell. The only thing you could tell from one team to the other was their colours, the clothing. It's incredible how those teams, like the European teams, have come along, you know. And the thing is, the advantage they got, and I always stick up for the England team because people say, oh, yeah, the England team, you know, and this. I'm like, listen. I said, what you got to remember is we don't do that style of fishing hardly at all.
A lot of the venues aren't even similar in terms of what you're fishing for and the depth and everything. It's completely different.
Nowhere near it. And I would say if England as a team get a medal of any sort, that is, I know for us, being English, we want to win. We want to come out. And it was no different when I fished for England. No. If we got a silver or got bronze, it'd be like, yeah, we've done it right. But realistically, you want to go on that podium and be in first place.
Yeah, well, you're going there you go there to get a medal, don't you?
Yeah.
Ideally a gold one, but yeah, I think probably the England teams don't get enough credit to especially now, as much credit as they deserve, because it's not easy going over to Europe and competing against these countries, which, let's be honest, are, especially now, probably a lot better than the England team because they're doing that style of fishing, the kit's available. Yep. And
they're fishing to those rules every time.
And it's not just that. A lot of these teams have got massive sponsorship deals as well, which are, backed by their countries, not like it is over here, where unfortunately,
Drennan sponsored the England team for as long as I was there.
Yeah.
Hats off to Peter Drennan and the team there. They were mega for our team. And I just go back to like the Italian Federation, like the Italian team. I know Angelo very, very well, and I got to know him very well. And they do not pay.
No, and they have an entourage of people that comes with them to do everything, don't they?
If you sit down, if you come to the results, to the World Championships or European Champs, you'll have our team. So you'll have the managers, you'll have the core of the team, and maybe a couple of the ladies like Sandra come over, Sally, who's Sean's missus, come over, and we're all sat. You look on the French table, there'd be 20 odd people.
Yeah.
10 of those people are there to help the team.
Yeah, just doing bait. Sorting
bank walking.
Stuff,
And that is the difference. And over time, that has made I think, a massive difference.
Oh God, yeah.
You know,
But I
and-
think that obviously a lot of these countries in Europe, they haven't got these big individual competitions like we have over in the UK, which is why fishing for your country is still the main objective for the majority of
them.
anglers, isn't it?
yeah,
But
there's no money involved
No.
in European team. A lot of team matches. It's changing. It is
a lot
changing.
of it's prizes and trophies, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's very different in their way of friendship. In a way, when they go fishing, they go like as a team, it's a friendship. Yeah, of course there's arguments, of course there's debates on different tactics and stuff like that. But with us, we're very, very English. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a bit like,
You're fighting for your place, is what
yeah,
you're getting at, isn't it?
you're
That's
fighting
the
for your
problem.
place, and like you hate losing.
It's very different because obviously for a lot of the audience won't know, but in a lot of these European countries they have sort of a league throughout the year, which the top 5 or 6 on that league then go to fish for their country. Not all of them, but some of the countries. That's how it works. Obviously, back when you were fishing for England, there were 6 people, and that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
Yeah, and them 6 team members come out of team fishing.
Yeah,
and they normally come from Barnsley, Starlets, or Dorking.
Yeah,
they were the 3 teams.
Rightly or wrongly, but that's
what. But them teams were the winners
Yeah.
of all the competitions, the Super Leagues, the Winter Leagues. Those 3 teams really were the ones that
I think
would
there was
win.
only Stu Conroy that wasn't fishing for one of those.
Yeah,
teams,
and that was
wasn't
Northwest back then.
it? Yeah.
So, yeah, 4 teams basically that the England team would come from,
Yeah.
because that was the knowledge of, if you got in that team, you had to be good anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And if you become one of the front runners in that team, you were probably good enough to fish for England. Even though it's completely different, a completely different set of way of fishing.
It's not just the style; it's all the kit as well, isn't it? But
It's a lot. It's a lot. It does get easier when you
because
first
obviously you accumulate stuff.
you
over the
accumulate
years,
it, you
don't
keep it tied, like all my flat floats. I used to keep them all tied up, and you find shortcuts of not making that flat float up. You'd have the shot, which I'll show you. Probably got a few flat floats with me, and we come up with little shortcuts. So instead of having that shot like every day, if them flat floats were working brilliantly, you'd be like, I want that flat float made for tomorrow. But you might be going to a different area, which is deeper.
Right.
So you have to remake that rig up. So then you have to take all those shot off, which I'll show you in a minute. They're not normal lead shot like we
they're
use.
very large.
They're very large. So we come up with shortcuts. Like what you do is put a swivel on, and then you keep all those shot on that piece of line, and you just tie some main line to it. So it's all perfectly shotted. So little shortcuts like that, which they've probably moved on again from when I sort of finished. So it's little things like that which made it a bit easier. Instead of sat in a hotel,
That'll be my dog.
sounds like he's just ate a rat at them.
Yeah, I think might be somebody that.
So yeah, we've come up with shortcuts like that. It's probably, like I said, it's probably moved on from when I left. And this is something I've got to get across to the general public. And I would love, like, with the camera stuff that you do nowadays for all the companies, is see what is involved after the practice session, after the match.
Oh God, yeah, because I've got to be careful how I word this, but there was a blanket ban on media, wasn't there, for the England time when you was there, to a degree. Obviously, social media back then wasn't a thing, but up until a few years ago, it was still a blanket ban. And my personal opinion is I don't think that helped the England team in any way, shape or form.
No.
In terms of getting exposure for them and getting the gratitude that some of those guys deserve.
Yeah, it's hard.
Things have changed now, I know, but
sit in a hotel every single night.
Yeah.
You go back, you're absolutely ruined. Your hands all falling apart because you've mixed up dry leam all day. They're cracked.
3 million catfish that spiked
catfish, bleak. You know what I mean? And then you've got to go back and do fishing gear, and not normal fishing gear. It ain't like trying an F1 maggot with a few shot on it. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Some venues are harder than others. When you go on a river, it is full on, because it's not. You could fish that river for 2 weeks, absolutely fine. You get a load of rain.
Yeah, it's completely different
It's
venue.
completely different, and that happened. And that's what drove me in the end to probably say, I just.
Because obviously towards the end of your England career, you were doing all the big competitions in terms of the UK individual stuff, as long as it didn't clash with England, as well as trying to fish for England, getting all the gear prepped for all of that is
weeks.
Yeah,
I
I
literally
won't want to do it personally.
I know. It did get to me in the end, as well as everything else. A few other things that we'll probably talk about, but the prep, the actual pressure of, and people say to me, I've spoke about this, and I think I've done a little thing with Zolt about like, not I don't call it anxiety. Everybody calls anxiety like that.
But you're under pressure to perform well every time
pressure
you go.
comes, and it's called anxiety.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just pressure and nerves and butterflies of thinking.
Yeah, because everybody's looking at you, and
you're going to do well.
If you're last, you feel
you
feel like an
devastated.
idiot, don't you?
You just want to smash your gear up. And having that for a lot of years, it does get you down in the end. And traveling, just
oh god, yeah. I mean, some of the drives you used to have to do were horrendous, to say the least.
I'll tell you a story. Actually, we went to Serbia, and I could tell you a few stories. Actually, I might actually tell you one. I had an argument with Mark Downs actually, because I phoned my insurance company up, and I said, "Look, I'm going to Serbia. How are you?" "Yes, we want like a green card to go." "Oh, we don't cover your van in Serbia."
Oh.
I'm like, "Right, so what do I do?" And they're like, "Well, you're not going to get it." So I phoned up Mark Downs. I said, "Mark, look, I spoke to my insurance company. I can't get insurance cover for Serbia." "Yes, you can. Yes, you can." I'm like, "No, I cannot get insurance." So I phoned my insurance company back. I said, "I've been told that you can." And this woman's like, "I'll pass you through to the main man at whatever insurance company it was." And anyway, I phoned them up, and they said, "Right, we'll put you through to this guy," and he's gone. And then he's like basically the top guy at this insurance company. He said, "Let me tell you something now, Mr. Ship." He said, "You cannot get insurance to go from wherever to Serbia." I'm like, "Right, okay, thanks for that." So anyway, as it happens, we were all told that you could buy an insurance policy on the Serbian border.
Right.
So when you go from Hungary, you get insurance all the way down to Hungary, get to the Serbian border, which they've all got guns. You know what I mean? Don't mess about. You get there, and it's like you're dealing with commandos. You're like, not very nice. You know what I mean? So give your passports away. Anyway, as we drove through the Serbian border, insurance. I thought, oh, what a result. So I went with Sean Ashby. So we went into this like area, goes over to this counter, insurance for 2 weeks, please. This woman's like, no. And we're like, yeah, we need insurance.
Is this just for your van, yeah?
Yeah, this is for your vehicle.
Yeah.
So the woman's like, no. We're like, yeah, insurance. No, you don't get not English insurance. So actually, we drove around in Serbia for 2 weeks with no insurance.
Oh. So good job you didn't have an accident.
Exactly. So they're the sort of things that we went through, and they're the sort of things that you'll see on this podcast. But yeah, that was back in the day. So yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was.
You drove very carefully for those 2 weeks, then?
No, not really. And then on the way home, I was driving Sean's van when we were stood in Serbia, coming to the Hungarian border. And we left there about 2:30 in the morning, I think, on Monday morning. I'm driving, doing like 90 miles an hour on this dual carriageway because there's no speed limits or anything. And I'm like that. And I'm like driving along this Sean. I'm like, there's a pair of headlights come in. Of course, there's people going past anyway, normal. And I'm like, I'm sure that's a pair of headlights on our side of the road. And Sean's like, no, go on, get your foot down. And I'm like, no. So I eased off. There's a car coming down our road on the wrong side. Obviously, we are on the right side, and that car's doing like 70 mile an hour. Yeah, going the other way. Like,
I bet that woke you up a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I don't know what he was doing, what happened, or whatever. But yeah, little things like that. And then I'll just run through another one. We were coming on the way back from Italy, and it's the closest I've ever been to having a colossal accident. I was driving I had a Renault Traffic van then, and I always say to Sean Ashby, how did that not cause an accident, or what happened? But I was driving along dual carriageway, because most of the motorways in Europe are just dual carriageways. again, we were doing like, 80, something like that. And we went past a container lorry. He had a container on the back, obviously. Then there was a caravan being towed by a car. And then in front of that caravan, there was another container lorry. So I think the two container lorries were together and this caravan had pulled in the middle of them.
Right.
So we drove past the first container lorry. As I got literally by this car in caravan, the car's pulled out of the caravan on. And he's doing like 50, I'm doing like 80.
Oh.
And Sean Ashby's dug into the dashboard like a cat. I'm now braking. Will's behind me, so I'm thinking Will's just going to stove into the back of me. Yeah. And honestly, from this day on, I do not know. And if you ask Sean Ashby, Sean just turned around to me when I literally, the caravan was just coming out. He never seen me, so he's just carried on pulling out. And I'm now going over to like the hard, not the hard shoulder, the sort of mid-centre reservation.
Yeah,
trying to get away from him. And luckily, I must have missed it by 6 inches. And the ABS is on, everything. And yeah.
Twitchy bum.
I said to Sean, he said, I don't know how you missed that. He said, but I think we should pull over and go into the services for a bit. And when I went, this guy's obviously just carried on past.
Yeah, completely oblivious.
Yeah, pulled up. English guy in Italy. So I've gone past. I'm like, what the? You can just imagine what come out of my mouth. Yeah. And this guy's gone, what? What's just happened? Never even had a clue that he just nearly caused. But that's the closest I've ever come to having like a major accident. God knows, if I'd have just clipped that caravan, it would have been carnage. So yeah, but yeah, all those little things always stick in your mind.
Good driving, I'm saying, on your
massive driving, Adam. If I wouldn't have been I've always said, if I wouldn't have been a forklift driver back then, I'd have just stove straight in it. So yeah. But yeah, little things like that, which I thought the public would like to know. That's the sort of thing.
I'm sure you've got plenty of stories.
Oh yeah, there's loads of stories. One of the funniest things was Alan Scoffhorn. We were on a big river in Merida, and Stevie, him and Stevie used to have some right good little rows. Well, we all did really. And this Merida, I think the feeder championships were over there last year or the year before.
Yeah, last year.
And there's these great big rocks. So what you had is a big platform, like the size of this table, and there are these rocks going down. Mm. And Stevie thought it'd be a good idea to get his platform and walk down the rocks and put his platform in the water, where the rest of us were stuck up on the platforms.
Right.
So Stevie's sort of stuck out a little bit, which is a bit of a, advantage, if you like. Yeah. It's only a practice match. It wasn't the world champs or anything. It's just a practice sort of team thing. Anyway, Alan had got his hair off with it. Didn't have a very good day. And Alan had a Renault Espace car then.
Oh, right.
And he was proper angry because it was real hot as well. I'm next to Will. Alan, I don't think I've ever told Alan this, so if he watches it, he'll remember it. And he slung his box into the back of the car, right? And fair play, it was a good shot. But as it hit the back of the car, it went in the car. And like the mats in the carpet.
Yeah.
It caught all that, and then it all went Costantinaed up like a great big lump. And I sort of looked round to Will like that, and I thought, whatever you do, Des, do not turn around. And it was one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe it never hit like the what do they call it where the Espace used to open up like that. What do they call it? Like a it's like the back door in it.
Well, the boot.
Yeah, the boot just sort of lifts up. How he didn't hit the top, the box just launched up in there. But yeah, it was funny. Some of it was really, really funny. Yeah. So little things like that always stick in my mind.
Well, obviously during your time at England, you were fishing Part Dean Masters.
Yeah.
Ultimate League. You had two of those. Am I right? Is it right? I think.
No, I didn't never win the Ultimate League. That was to do with John Talbot, wasn't it? Back in the day, That was with Moorlands and the other fishery that he built. What's it called? Hayfield. Is it not Hayfield? Hayford. So John built Hayford as well, and his brother ran that. But I actually went to the finals and never actually won it.
Oh right, sorry, that was my error.
Yeah.
But obviously 3 Part D Master wins.
Yeah.
Various, countless finals.
Yeah, you just got to try and win them, haven't you? Loads of festivals, like What Acres festivals back then.
But I want to know how you managed to compete in all these festivals and do all these big money matches, as well as juggling the England stuff, because let's be honest, it's not easy.
No, it was.
And at this point, you wouldn't have been
Work,
full time angler, would you?
working nights were good. I'm not gonna lie. I had a very good boss back then, Bruce. And when I used to work 12-hour nights, there was a lot of hook tying, some rig tying.
You did have a very good boss then.
I had a very good boss. Yeah, if it weren't for Bruce, it's like everything in life, innit? You look back and think, if it just weren't for that person, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So I got to thank a lot of people in my life that without those people, it wouldn't have happened. You know, and my ex-boss, my ex-wife, if you like, you know, without all that, yeah, a lot of sacrificing, Adam, like you pointed out.
Yeah, I don't think people probably realise what goes into it, do
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, no, sometimes you do, and yeah, there is a lot of other things that go into it. There is a lot of, you know, your brain is just full of that all the time whilst you're trying to live your life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you get to that stage in fishing, in my mind, I'm only talking about myself, I take it very like, I don't know, I get full of it. I need to like,
Yeah,
I
suppose the pressures build up, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And it did get easier, like with the kit wise, because Preston obviously, you know, produced a kit to like what you could use, which helped massively. Instead of me trying to get things, it was there to be had. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it is hard. You just get on with it.
Sorry, Des, just tilt your mic up a little bit.
Just that way?
It's catching your shirt, that's all.
Yeah, I don't wear a shirt normally, Adam. That's why that is.
Come looking the part today.
I know, yeah, got me new clobber on, haven't I? Yeah, it is quite difficult sometimes when I look back, and just hours and hours sat in garages, like putting shot on rigs.
Tying many hook lengths. Elasticating many top kits.
Do you know the worst thing about fishing for England was all the kit you done and never used?
Yeah, I can imagine, because you're preparing for every eventuality, and you might use 3 rigs.
Yeah, that was such a pain, because all that stuff then would just be like chucked to one side,
left in the garage till next year.
Or
whenever.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of the downers on tying rigs, that you never used to use most of them. I used to end up using some of them back in England for like river fishing back home here. So yeah, it was yeah, I do miss some of it. I do miss that. I miss like the slider fishing and that.
The aspects of fishing that you wouldn't do over here, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say in some of the venues the fishing's a lot better than it is in the UK as well, isn't it? Obviously, there's some venues that are a lot worse, but
yeah, it can be.
Some of those venues look phenomenal.
Yeah, one story I will say was when I was in Hungary on Lake Valence, which Zolt would know about.
His eyes just lit up.
Yeah, he loves that lake. And it was all slider fishing. There was very, very little pole fishing. And I struggled with it. It was probably about the 4th or 5th year, I reckon, something like I fished for England. And we never really done a lot of slider fishing. And this venue just become a slider venue. It was all about sort of 30, 40 metre chucks, feeding with ground bait and that, and catching little skimmers.
Blasting balls of ground baiting.
Everywhere. Literally everywhere. I mean, this would be part of the story. And I was struggling. I was getting tangles. Couldn't really work it out. Partly because I had the wrong floats. Partly just a bit in pieces, really. And I actually pulled out of the team on Friday. I think I went out it was either Thursday or Friday. We had the week's practice, and I went out to Mark Downs. I said, Mark, I ain't confident, mate. I said, I don't want to fish. And he's like, no,
Which is a pretty brave thing to go up and say.
Yeah.
Because you're basically admitting that you're not good enough.
And he did tell me off, actually. I'm not going to say what he said, but it was like, do not. And he said to me, he said, whatever you do never do that again. He said, if you don't want to, I'll be the one that tells you you're not fishing.
Yeah.
So I didn't fish on the Saturday. I pulled out, and we had a bad result on the Saturday. And Mark come up to me, he said, look, I want you to fish tomorrow. I'm like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And that was, for me, lying there in bed on Saturday night thinking I've got to fish.
Yeah, I bet you had no sleep at all.
Oh, I didn't sleep at all. And then the following day, where do I draw? 2 pegs away from Thomas Walter. He won his section on the Saturday. So there's like
For anybody that doesn't know, he's probably the best angler in Hungary. One of the best anglers in the world.
Yeah. You know, individual gold medalist and God knows what else. And I'm drawn 2 pegs away from him. So there's an angler next to me, and then there's him. And he's on his home water. He's won his section the previous day. And everybody in Hungary is like, Thomas Waters now going to come world champion again. There's 500 people stood behind him. Plus they're behind me because the overflow.
Just what you want when you're not very confident.
Exactly. The overflow is all behind me.
Yeah.
And I went to one to win my section on the slider.
Oh, very well done, mate.
So, yeah.
Smashed him up on his own venue.
That was like, for me, bearing in mind what I've been through, like couldn't get everything right.
Do you think that was because you were under so much pressure to perform, you just performed better than what you would have normally? Or do you think you had a point to prove?
The pressure, no, not a point to prove.
Yourself,
the pressure,
no,
not really. That didn't really come into it. The pressure was, I just got to get on with it. This is it now. This is my 4th or 5th year of fishing for England. I just got to go and do it. If I blow out, if I get in a mess, I'm finished anyway. Yeah. And I went out and I won my section on the slider. Can't remember what weight I had. Nice day's fishing. Some like skimmers and decent skimmers. Yeah, and Thomas. I don't know where Thomas come that day. He done all right, but he didn't win the section. Win the world championship.
Got to him with everybody.
I think it did actually a little bit. He was fishing with carp for a lot because he thought, I'll go for it. But yeah, that was a massive turning point in the confidence thing for me. That after that day, and that people won't see that. That for me was like, after the match, it was like that. It's the relief.
Yeah.
Of just
not to yourself as well, to other people as well, I suppose. Cause especially like I said, it's a brave thing to go up to Mark Downs and tell him that you don't feel confident.
Yeah.
I would imagine that was probably quite a hard pill to swallow.
Hard because you think you're just going to finish that's going to finish your England career.
Well, yeah, potentially could have done.
Could have easy, but that's me. That's how I felt, and I felt sick, like thinking that I might be going into that competition not right for it. Where I just say, actually, I think I'll miss this one out.
Yeah.
But yeah, people won't know that. Everybody thinks that it is hard. It's hard to fish for your country. I think it's probably hard for most of the team members, and not just our team, but all the other teams.
Yeah.
Sitting there looking for the.
Zolt's just told me, do you want a coffee break?
I would love to have a tea break, Zolt. And an egg and bacon sandwich again if you've got one spare. That's it. She says no. So we'll have a coffee break.
We'll have a coffee break, and then I want to, when we come back, I want to start touching on being a professional angler and product development and all that sort of things, because I think that's an important aspect that people need to
hear about. Yeah.
But yeah, come on, Zolt.
Come on, Zolt. Get the kettle on, mate.
So we're back, all refreshed with a fancy coffee from Zolt.
I've changed my approach, Adam.
Yeah, gone for Coke.
I've got Bacardi and Coke now.
Loosen the lips a little bit.
Oh, yes. Hopefully not too much.
So we'll just pick up where we left off. Obviously, I mentioned about the road to you becoming a professional angler. So when, I roughly know when, but so the audience can know, when did that actually happen in your point of life, how many years ago, etc.?
I think it's about 12.
It's been that long?
Yeah, 12 years. Things happened at Preston. And as that happened with Preston, basically Preston got taken over. And whilst that was happening, obviously everything was becoming, I would say, probably a little bit too much.
In terms of trying to juggle a full-time job and fishing essentially full-time. Yeah,
literally. I was doing like a continental 36-hour week, which was good because I had time off.
Yeah. But you're still working a full-time job.
Yeah, and the pressures of being heavily sponsored, that comes with its own pressures, because it depends who you are as an individual. But to me, being
but you are, like, people don't realise you have obligations, in especially now, where you have to do X amount of filming days each year. Yeah, you have to attend certain events. You have to be in the office for product development meetings, etc., which all obviously all takes time up, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and if you were having to do that and book holidays from work to attend those, it'd be near impossible.
Exactly. And also, Adam, I can only speak for like my individual person, the way I think. I always feel I need to do that.
Yeah.
That probably come out the wrong way, but
No, but you sort of
I don't
go
just
above
go
and beyond to
I
do
don't just go.
things.
Oh,
Yeah.
They won't notice. And I've always said to people, I've always said I don't never want to get a phone call to say, Des,
You're not doing your job.
what are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
What's going on here? And I try my hardest to stop that from ever happening. Do you know what I mean? From going fishing, obviously results, it all comes up. But I don't care what anyone says.
Social media, which is a massive part of things now.
Yeah, that's how it's changed massively. So that's another thing. So yeah, it all comes with its thing. Obviously, time off. It's like the difference is now for me, if I want to go and fish a festival, and when I went full time, even though I did finish with the England team, that helped massively because I had the time to go away and not have time off of work as weeks off.
As well as, obviously if you're doing that, you're still trying to juggle things like family holidays and attend things with the family and everything. It's very difficult, isn't it?
Never used to take many family holidays, unfortunately. That was probably my most selfishness, being very, very selfish for the sport and who I was probably becoming and the company. That's the truth.
But I think anybody that in any sport, if you want to be the best within that sport, unfortunately,
it comes with it.
It's part of the parcel, isn't it? You have to make those sacrifices.
Yeah.
Yes, it is selfish, but if you want to achieve these things in life, you have to do it.
You have to do it. Yeah, you're dead right, and that's your choice. That's the choice I made. But yeah, it comes with it. It does come with it. It doesn't matter what sport you're in. It doesn't matter. So yeah, it was, like I said. Going back to like what happened at Preston. Preston got taken over. David Preston. That's obviously, if anybody doesn't know, the guy, Preston Innovations, used to be owned by a guy called David Preston.
Yeah.
And then he sold out. And that come in time of when it's weird when you look back and you think how everything's set like in place. It's like someone's gone, this is your time, Des. And it was my time. It was my time to go into a meeting and say to David, this is before he actually sold out. And I said, look, and he's like, I need you to come out and have a chat. And I put my cards on the table. And I said, look, I cannot do this is when social media started happening as well, with filming and stuff. And I said, I can't physically and mentally do that as well as a full-time job. And that's when we sat down and gone, right, we can't give you all that, but we can do this. And I'm like, I'll give it a go. And that was a big decision to...
I can imagine, because you're going from probably a fairly well-paid job with security to, well, this might only last 12 months, I don't know.
Exactly. To sit down and go to David Preston, I'll have a 3-year deal at that, where I've worked for a printing company for 20 years. To go, I'll tell you what, but that's what happens. You have to make a decision. It's like moving from one job to another. And touch wood, it's been really good.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, you've worked hard to be in the position that you're in, and you still continue to work hard to stay in that position.
Yeah, but there is a lot of people that, like, I think they all think that it is a fantastic, easy.
But it's the same as any other job.
It is,
because it is your job now.
Yeah, and I do. When I go fishing, it is for me. I love fishing, obviously, and I love competing. But all those pressures of sitting there, everybody thinks that you're going to do well.
Yeah,
and
I
always want to sit there and when I do my Facebook things and that. Now I always want to write positive things. I always want to write, yes, I've done this and done that. The hard part about social media is when you have done not so great, and you've drawn crap.
But unfortunately, that's fishing, and
that is fishing. Do you know what I mean?
Too much luck involved.
And I always say to people, like, coaching is massive now. And I always say to the people that I don't do much coaching, but the people I've taken out, I said, look, the coaching thing is to make you go up gradually, rather than these like great big peaks and troughs. If you can level that out, which is what I would say probably a better angler does. where he goes all year, he will have that
steady
nice
run of
steady
results,
run.
yeah.
If you're Jamie Hughes, obviously he just draws that well. He's like Mount Everest, isn't he?
Yeah. But,
But yeah, do you know what I mean? So that's the whole point of, and I get a buzz. It doesn't. I think you become, for me, you've become who you are from being in areas of a lake where people go, how have you won your section? You know, you've caught 30 pound of silverfish and you've caught those carp or what F1s.
Yeah.
But them 30 pound of silverfish has actually won you that section.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably where people, the respect
But that's like
comes with who you are in that sort of fishing.
That's like sort of what I mentioned earlier. With those anglers that grew up on those harder venues,
Yeah.
do that sort of like make those decisions in a match where you might want to, or you might need to fish for some silvers to win. But those people that just necessarily grow up on commercials think, oh, I'm going to catch some skimmers because they're just vermin, basically.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference, doesn't it?
But
Especially at venues like Whiteacres and stuff.
Yeah, when you go to festivals and that, it's massive, you know? And that's over time, over many years, I think that's probably sort of, you don't realise, I didn't realise.
Yeah, you do just because you just do it.
But people
don't you?
think that's where you build your reputation on results of, it's all great having a win, but it's the results. People go, how have you caught that from there? And people just go, it's crazy.
And do you think when you took the step to be a full-time angler, quote unquote, how did that improve your fishing, or did it improve your fishing? Did it make it worse, or make?
Well, the first thing I'd done, I thought I'm gonna do loads of coaching. I'll earn some good money. I'll enjoy it, and my diary. I got my diary. I was like, yeah, I'm doing coaching. I have to put it on my social media page. I think back then, and I'm like, doing coaching. Give me a contact, and my whole diary was like full of coaching. The problem with that was,
got no time to go fishing.
I ain't got no time to do that, and I'm also trying to do, like filming was becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
And in the end, I was like, I can't
do
do all this. And I got a bit overexcited, thinking I'm now released from my full-time job and I can do that. And I've had to, after about 2 years, I was like, I can't. I need some time off.
Yeah.
I need time to just doing prep, just to have like a day.
Oh yeah, because when you're fishing 3-4 times a week,
the
amount of gear that you go through is ridiculous, isn't it?
I'm not kidding you. Taking people coaching was brilliant, right? But my kit, because they all used to come out.
Use your hooks, use your rigs.
And it was really funny when I started doing coaching, because I go, right, mate, because I used to do it in a certain way. So I'd be like, nice to meet you. And I used to get there in the morning. I remember a couple of guys I took out first off. I'd get to the car park in the morning, their trolley would be full up.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I can't teach this guy anything. He's got everything. And fair play to him. Most of them would come up in the morning and say, nice to meet you, Des. I've got all the gear and I ain't got no idea. And I'm like, no, that's absolute rubbish. When I actually started coaching, not everybody, but some of them, I was like, right. It was like going right back to the basics. Yeah. And Zolt was one of them, obviously.
Zolt's one of them.
So yeah, it was really, really interesting to see that. And I'll tell you what was really lovely about coaching was when I used to take them, they were club anglers, a lot of them used to fit, and they looked, I just cannot compete. And then like a couple of weeks later, you get a text, I've just framed them my first ever match.
Yeah, and that must make you feel
it's
great,
brilliant.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'll be like, yeah, brilliant, mate, absolutely brilliant. And that's what coaching to me was about, was to get them to, I remember a couple of blokes really, because I used to do it in a certain way. So I say, right, plumb up for me, because I just want to see how they would plumb up. Yeah. I remember one guy, and he put a plummet on, and bear in mind he's got real thick elastic in, which was, for me, that was another thing I should see, some real heavy elastics. It was like tuna fishing. And I'm like, put a plummet on that. He'd be like, and I'm like, righto, that's the bottom. He'd be like, yeah. And he'd be at least a foot over depth. He'd be like, that's right, isn't it? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, that's normally how I said, no. So you get them up, plumbing up, like just a couple of inches over depth, right? oh, right, how's that you do it? Yeah, bring your line down and I'll be starting to fish. I'm like, that was a bite. And he'd be like, never moved. I'm like, no, that was your bite.
Reminds me of somebody this does.
Yeah,
Des.
so that was a bite. And they'd be like, I didn't see that. I'm like, right. But by the end of the day,
yeah,
they'd be like, wallop.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I cannot believe the difference.
Mm.
But I'm not unfortunate. That's not the right word. But it all become, I took too much on
Yeah.
to try and do what I wanted to do for the company as work, what I wanted to do in fishing. It just become too much because the weather messed things up and so on.
Yeah.
And I had to take a step back. And I was like, no, my priority is like obviously the Preston.
Mm.
And then I want to go and obviously do some fishing as well. But like what you said, the question was, do you become a better angler because you go fishing more? I would say 100%.
Yeah. No, I kind of knew that was going to be your answer, but I wanted your opinion.
Yeah. On certain venues, F1 venues, as you know, as we all know, F1
I think
venues.
this modern style of commercial fishing,
yeah.
you need to be going a lot. don't
Yeah.
you? To keep up with the likes of, like Christian Joneses.
Yeah,
and-
they're on it all the time
Yeah.
on those sort of venues. But I like it. Yeah, on some of the festivals I fish, I know I'm not as good on a certain way of fishing but I'm not going to go. I'm also.
But you probably pick and choose the matches that you go on.
Yeah, and I like a variation.
I think that's important for other people to look at as well. Like if you're not so good at a certain style of fishing or a certain style of venue, then maybe look at go at different places where you can compete rather than trying to. I don't want to sound like you're telling people to stop wasting their money, but you need to be realistic about the situation.
Yeah.
And pick and choose the right matches to fish so that you can still do well.
Yeah, I also think you need a variation as well.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You're silverfish fishing. All I say to people is I learned so much on silverfish fishing that's put me right in a certain way on these F1 waters.
Yeah.
Like fishing for crafty roach. Like, it
Yeah,
helps.
because the sort of basics are still the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's obviously only the rigs and the feeding that probably differs a little bit.
Yeah. But you need that variation. That's what I do. I don't want to go to. Yeah, I love commercial fishing. I love like the styles that we do, but I also like to just go off to a silverfish match. There's nothing better for me. I mean, that's what we got to do with. We got to try and do.
Good luck with that one.
We got to try and do a coaching and coachable on a silverfish lake.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how that goes, but but I think Zolt's a classic. That's why that coaching and coachable works so well, because Zolt, I'm not saying that you guys out there are Zolt, but you're probably almost a lot better than Zolt. But he is, you guys, trying to...
No, but like, without being disrespectful, Zolt, and don't take this like I'm saying things the wrong way, but Zolt is a good high-level club stroke entry-level open match angler. Come on, Des, he is.
Goodish. Goodish. Goodish.
But like, he hasn't done a lot of commercial fishing and that style of fishing, which is why it works. It works. Obviously, he's a lot better at feeder fishing than he is.
Yeah.
Well,
depends if he's chucking a feeder.
It depends whether he's cracking it off or not.
But that's the Zolt is.
But I would say he's your sort of style of average angler that can go once a week, a couple of times a month.
Exactly, it makes a big difference.
Oh yeah, a massive difference.
And
don't forget that I haven't fished on commercials for 20 odd years.
Well, yeah,
this is the problem. He comes up with excuses,
yeah,
Adam.
It's full of excuses.
Just stay quiet now, Zolt.
Yeah.
There's no excuses. But yeah, doing that, and that was a great idea because it is reality. It's what guys do every single week. And, you are respected on the bank. You are respected as an angler because you've grown into what you are. But that comes with its pressures as well.
Yeah, because everyone
you don't want to let
expects you
anybody
to perform.
down.
Yeah,
you don't want to
expected to win all the while, aren't you?
Yeah.
And unfortunately.
And I'm very competitive, which makes it even. That's like a double.
No, you did.
Yeah, that's like a double whammy. That is, because I'm not just I'm beating myself up.
Yeah.
Because obviously you just want to sort of come off the bank thinking, And everybody else is probably thinking, I can't believe you've done that well from that peg. But to
Mm.
me, it's like, well, I'm gutted because I ain't won.
Yeah, but that's fishing, and if you won every time you went, you get bored, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I do get over it after about 12 hours now, where it used to take me about a week. So I've had a little bit better. Yeah.
So obviously being a full-time angler and heavily involved with the Preston brand,
Yeah.
product development is something that you are hugely influential in. A lot of
Yeah.
people probably don't realise how influential.
We do have our arguments.
We do. We've sat in many a meetings, and yeah, it'd be good if some of these guys could be a fly on the wall in those
Yeah,
meetings.
it'd be
'cause
quite, I think we might be able to do one, actually. I think it'd be a podcast in the product meeting would be
Yeah.
handy.
But obviously, like I say, you're heavily involved in development of all products, and
Yeah.
obviously during your time at Preston, the brand has gone from being in its infancy to this monster what it is now.
Yeah.
We cover all aspects of match style fishing, from the budget end of stuff right through to top end £3,500 poles.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like try and get some information from you without obviously telling too much, but to give people a better understanding of the way that products are developed, basically. Because I think a lot of people think, we just go to, wherever they're made, China, the Far East,
Yeah.
wherever, and just go, oh yeah, we'll have one of them. That is not the case, is it?
No, far from it. I think that's what's so unique about the company, and I've always loved that you've got like guys like Todd,
Yeah.
Chris, just a number of Robbie.
Yeah.
Those guys sit there and come up with all the ideas of the snap lock bits,
Yeah.
the hand wheels, adjustment things, you name it. Rollers. It's massive, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's mind blowing sometimes. I mean, I remember the last meet we went to and seen some of the things that are in the pipeline.
Yeah, and you're like, how have you even
And
come
you're
up
like,
with this?
Todd, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And
One product that always sticks in my mind, people find this hilarious. Ground bait catapult.
Yeah.
How long did that take to get right?
Oh, about 2.5 years, something like that.
I think it was nearly 3, to be
Yeah.
honest. But it's just stupid little product. Well, not stupid, but products like that.
Yeah.
People don't realise how long it takes to get them right.
Yeah. We actually had a meeting a long time ago. Things changed. And we always said, let's just stop a minute. And it is hard because there's times on, product launches and things like that. And I think we always said, didn't we, a good while ago, that let's make sure it's right.
Yeah, we try
We
our
try
very
our
best to
absolute
release.
hardest,
yeah.
don't we, to try and make sure when it goes out, everybody's like, this is great. And you always get an odd little blip here and there.
Yeah,
but
I
them
know.
blips are getting
Less and
less and less.
Unfortunately, we are subject to the suppliers as well. It's like we might do everything right our end, but
Oh, I've had some stuff. I've had some stuff like a hand wheel, and you go like that, and you go, this thing like brass red comes out, and I'm like, what's? And I get onto Todd, and God goes, I didn't believe it. They were supposed to put that in a different shape.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that.
Sometimes they're alluring to
drive
themselves
you-
and they just do.
Yeah.
They make changes without telling us, which is extremely frustrating. Obviously, a lot of the public won't realise what goes on behind the
Yeah.
scenes. But
it is great, though. It is great to sit in a meeting, see all this new stuff come through, and it's very hard, isn't it?
it's extremely. It's getting harder and harder as well because obviously we're at the stage where everything is very, very good.
Yeah.
And coming up with new ideas that haven't already been done is really
more and more
hard.
difficult.
Yeah.
It is more and more difficult. But it is, sitting there trying, and it carries on.
Oh, gotcha.
It does carry on.
Well, fishing evolves, doesn't it? New tactics, start working,
Yeah.
and different things become available in terms of materials and stuff. But, yeah.
It is
It's
good.
very difficult.
And I think when I look, I work, I sort of help out in the tackle shop now and again, and I look around and I just think we are quite a lot ahead
Yeah.
in when you look around.
I would say, like, in terms of
and-
a product range, ours is probably one of the broadest within the UK,
Yeah.
if not Europe, of good quality tackle that, there's nothing in our range that I sit there and think, I don't want to use that.
That's the difference as well.
Yeah.
When I first joined,
And that's not me just saying that because I work here. That is the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
There is
There isn't.
isn't,
No,
no.
It's literally nothing now that you can. I mean,
But like that from the brand it is now to when you joined.
ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Totally.
But you've obviously played a massive part in that in terms of
Yeah.
testing the products and coming up with new ideas.
Yeah, I remember going to Ricky Till many years ago, and I used to go to them. There's a little tiny factory in Telford, literally a couple of units. And he's like, he was very, very dry. And he's like, what's happening out there? That's all he used to say. What's happening? What's going on? Who's doing what? And I'd be like, oh, well, I don't really know. And he'd be like, all right. And I remember taking a hook that I used in Denmark. It was a fly hook, and it had an outturned eye. And hair rigging was just starting. Well, in carp fishing, it had been there forever, but in match fishing, it just started taking off quite a bit. Hair rigging, bands and stuff like that. And then I thought, I used to hate. I know carp anglers used to love like this kick in with the line, but for a match angler, I just didn't think it was right. And I remember taking this hook, and I said, look, I think that might be all right for like maybe a match hook. And he's like, why is that? And I'm like, well, the line's a bit straighter. He's like, no. That went down well then. Went back home after the meeting. About 18 months, it's probably a year later. He said, where are you? I said, well, I should take a day off of work to go to the factory. Because he was pretty like dry. It'd be like, what are you doing tomorrow? Oh, come on up then. I'm like, oh God, phone me boss up. Can I have a day off? And he got to chuck these hooks on the table. PR36s they were then. And I'm like, you crafty bugger. He'd done that.
Yeah.
And that was the start of the sort of outturned eye that we do now on the KKM, KKHs. Yeah. And that's where it all progresses, things like that. And it's just nice to see that it had a massive impact on what we do as match anglers.
Yeah. And obviously, like testing products as well. Like one that sticks in my mind again is Superior poles. That was one of the first big projects that I was involved in. Yeah. When we started, and obviously testing those was a long old task. But
it is. Yeah.
The outcome was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They've been a major success. We've obviously just launched the next edition in the Superior range. And I don't think people realise quite how much testing goes into.
It's a lot because, nowadays I think someone like me, for instance, that is a big responsibility. Yeah. Because the people look to you.
Well, that's it. If that range was rubbish, we're doing all the promotion with you. You're going to be the first person that people.
They say, Des, you told me. You said, that this was like what I wanted, and you've got to make sure that you do the utmost to make sure it is what you say. Yeah. And that's one thing I strive in like our meetings. I'm not putting my name to that.
No, unless
you do that.
Yeah.
So, and that's where it comes, that's where the arguments start a bit. We don't argue, do we?
No,
it's just a bit more of a
heated debate sometimes.
Yeah. So it is very, very important. And just the stuff that comes through now is, I'm like, it just puts a smile on your face.
Yeah, it does, yeah. It's great to see an idea through to a finished product, isn't it? It's
when we gang up on Robbie, I quite like. Because Robbie's
Come on, Robbie.
Yeah, come on, Robbie. Come on, mate. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So...
But, yeah, no, I just thought it'd be nice for everyone to hear, like, we're not just a company that picks stuff off a shelf. We are. Our core ethos is that we're an innovative company.
Yeah.
And we do try our very best to come up with new ideas.
Yeah, like I said, we have got a fantastic team, haven't we?
Yeah.
Of,
a team that no one else realises exists, to be fair.
No. They all think it's just like one bloke buying it from wherever, and it is not like that, let me tell you. You have got people out there that sit down every single day on a CAD designers.
Yeah.
And it's quite mind-blowing sometimes, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And that's why we took them fishing. We actually took them fishing the other week.
Yeah, because bearing in mind, a lot of these guys aren't anglers as well. No. So
they're not even interested in fishing. That's just their job, and nice to take them out. And then that gets like, they look at it and say, oh yeah, I get that now. I get that why you want that like that. Yeah. And that, I think that helps massively.
Yeah, it does 100%.
But yeah, it's really, really nice to see sitting at a meeting and then seeing it come through at the end.
No, I agree. It's one of the things I most enjoy about working for the brand. To be fair,
it's huge. It's huge, and
especially when it's a popular product as well, and it goes well. It's
I've seen more in, like you, Adam, when just when they first produced a box.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm sort of 18 stone. It's all right, but yeah, all right. And then you look at it now. You look at all the knuckles, the changes we've made to the knuckles, and all the drawers, the box frames, the legs, everything. It's just like now it is just so good that you just love it. People love it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You know, it just lasts. It does what it says on the ticket, and it's just nice. It's just nice to be like in that position. But it's been a hard, long road.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
that.
Like,
And what does it cost them, Adam? It's colossal, isn't it?
Crazy, scary amounts.
It is a lot of money. When people say, "Oh no," you think of tooling. It's a bit better now because they do a lot of the.
Yeah, we do a lot of the CAD design.
design.
Well, the print offs in house,
yeah.
but yeah, it's.
But I remember years ago,
scary
whenever
amount of
all the. That was before your time, really. They used to say, because I was always interested. How much is that tooling then? Oh, it's 10 grand.
Yeah.
You went, what?
Yeah.
I remember we changed. It was a PXR reel, one of the first reels that we produced. And I said, look, the actual handle that comes off, we want to shorten it. It was 10 grand to actually do that moulding.
Yeah.
I'm like, perhaps you shouldn't bother then. And
But,
they're like, no, because that's
It's got to be right. Yeah.
yeah. It was serious money, and it still is serious money. Isn't it?
Well, if anything, it's probably worse because our product range is even bigger now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but anybody out there that thinks that that it is a massive part of the business. Isn't
oh
it?
God, yeah. I mean, we have regular product meetings, probably every couple of months or so to go through various different things. You're always out testing gear. People don't realise that you've always got gear to test. Some things
don't even get there.
Some things don't get there. Some things take forever to be tested and give them the thumbs up, basically. But, I think
Well, that's part of my job. It's been part of my job since I went. Well, before I went full time.
Yeah, but it's even more so.
Sort of more so now than ever.
But yeah, I thought it'd just be nice for people to hear that we're not just a company that picks stuff off a shelf.
No, I'm not just.
It'd be nice if we did do that sometimes.
Yeah, it would be. It'd take a lot less time, a lot less hassle. But we try and do unique stuff.
Yeah,
innovations to make it easier.
Yeah, definitely. The next point, and I know this is
what's this one then?
This is a topic that you really love. Media and social media.
Oh.
So obviously you've seen it from printed magazine, right through to the modern day YouTube videos, social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Massive changes.
Obviously, it's changed your job role as well for the business, because obviously you'd have been going out with, Improve Your Course Fishing, Match Fishing Magazine, Pole Fishing Magazine before.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's probably died a death now.
I
know
agree.
you still do some features, but magazines aren't as popular as what they once were.
Definitely not.
Obviously, well, pretty much all the brands now have their own YouTube channels that everyone publishes content on, as well as obviously your independent channels as well. All of which keeps you very busy.
It does. And back in the day, I can't even remember when I actually took the idea, or I think Steve Ringer was probably one of the first match anglers to do Facebook properly as a match angler. And then I didn't even have Facebook on my phone for God knows how many years.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise it existed, really. But eventually I decided I could see things changing. I was very lucky that I think I was very lucky. And when I'd done it, it was probably just at the right time, because I wouldn't really want to start out now.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And I got into it. And to be fair, from everybody who follows me,
I think you're one of the very few that, don't take this the wrong way, but of your age that has embraced social media, and really grabbed it and done well with it as well, because it's obviously helped grow your profile. Yeah. As well as obviously doing it for the brand.
And it's live.
Yeah.
People match fishing, match fishing is very on the day. If you're a carp angler, you can sit you can sit there fishing and you can do your bits and pieces and you can have a chill out waiting for a bite. Where match fishing is up in the morning, straight into it, fish the match, and people want to know how you've done. And that is when you get back at like 6, 7 o'clock at night and you're
the last thing
knackered.
you want to be doing is writing a Facebook post.
But people want that. That
Yeah, they
is
do,
what they want. They want to see what you've
More
done
so
today.
from you than just me, for instance,
Yeah.
or
And to be
whoever.
honest, Adam, when I'm down at Whiteacres, I don't really want to write how I've caught, because I don't want to lie either. I hate like going around the outsides of things. I mean, when you are fishing a festival, you got to, you're trying to write the truth, but you're also trying not to give too much away because if someone
you're
draws,
competing against people that
and they're hard to beat.
Yeah.
But on a normal match, a one day, I do try and write what I call a diary piece, which is how I've caught, and I try and be as truthful as possible.
And back before social media, did you used to keep a diary of?
I kept the diary of results, which I've got quite a few different pictures back in the day. Yeah.
Sorry, Result is giving us some technical difficulties here with the TV.
It doesn't surprise me one bit, Adam, to be honest. I'm used to that on a day-to-day occurrence. I got Result. But yeah, I've got some. I brought these up. Let me get a couple of these out. I don't know which one. They are absolutely. Some of them are covered in dust. But in here, I've got. When I was back in my day, back in the early 2000, 20 years ago, I used to actually keep I got the Angling Times.
Nearly 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's gone a bit quicker than what I thought. But I got Angling Times, Angler's Mail, some of the things that people have sent me. And I used to cut all the things out. I've actually got a bag of like bits that I've cut out of magazines. And just scrapbook, really.
Ship sunkum. There's a
that used to be that used to be like the main thing. But loads of things with Moreland's Farm. Like got people in there like Steve Mayo I used to travel with all over the country. It's just nice to go back through it and just have a look now and again to see how things have progressed and changed like massively. It was
because obviously now, if you want to, I suppose for the past 7-8 years, maybe a bit longer, you can just go back on Facebook.
Yeah, sometimes like last year, I remember I went down. I just come back from Whiteacres, and last year I went down and I couldn't remember what ground bait I used. So I went back on my Facebook page. I went back to Whiteacres last year, and I'm like, oh yeah, I used Pro Thatchers and F1 Green. That'd do. And yeah, but it's nice to go back, which I don't think the younger generation now will ever get that.
No, I mean I'm probably the age that just about remembers Angling Times when it was the big newspaper with all the results in the back, and every week you go in, every Tuesday you go in, look at the results.
Yeah.
It's no more, is it? Everything's just on social media now.
There's quite a lot of stuff in there, probably from like a certain era, if you like.
Some interesting hairstyles on there, Des.
It looks like that was back in the day.
So obviously for you guys listening that can't see this, there's I've never seen Des Ship with a full head of hair.
No, it didn't last long.
No.
It didn't last long. Oh God, here we go.
Don't know if you guys can see that. We'll get some B-roll to overlay,
but that was the era. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'll be honest with you. Like from me starting match fishing, I used to really look forward to looking at the Angling Times because you didn't know what was happening.
It was a result as well. Wasn't it? You got a result, you'd be like, there it is. It's in there.
Cut the little piece out with your name in. Yeah.
So I done that for a couple of years. And it just faded away to once Facebook started.
Well, yeah,
that was the end of it, really. Because
Facebook and YouTube sort of killed.
Done. That was a good thing. Kamasan, for me, that was a massive competition back in its day, and to get into the top.
If you won that, you were
never going to win it. Never really going to win it in the Southwest because the numbers weren't there.
Yeah, I think
I don't know where I ended up coming. I think I got 36 points one year, and that was a massive achievement. It's nice though because I can actually sort of remember some of those matches, even though they're 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
So I brought those in just to sort of Zolt can take a few shots and take the mick.
All hail Des. That's a good. That's
Yeah,
a good
see,
one. Ship shape.
ship shape in Bristol fashion. That was yeah, that was one of the things.
But yeah, we'll overlay some of these because there's some absolute corkers in here.
That was one I spoke to you about before we started filming.
Yeah.
That was on the Super League final at Hayford against Dorking, and I had the old boss box there, and I took the foot plate off because to trying to get to the far bank at 16 meters was like you had to be touching it, and with my foot plate on, I was back, so I was losing like 18 inches.
Mm.
So I took my foot plate off, and you can see from that.
Yeah, just about to see your feet.
Yeah,
on
I've
the
got
edge
my
of the
box
platform.
right up against the platform, and I've got my feet like that. And I was like, obviously a lot fitter back then, stronger. But you look at the gear I was using, my landing net looks like it's just been crushed by a car. Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny when you look back at how
Yeah.
bad the gear was back in the day.
Yeah. You know, the poles then were like nothing like we got. The progress on poles and things
No,
now
it's
is
phenomenal, isn't it?
mega.
Even like
Abs-
from our latest range to Superiums to the previous one,
Yes, moved on.
it's just a joke.
If you had those back
God,
then,
yeah, you'd have
be
won
like,
everything.
Yeah, it'd have been so much easier. I mean, they were tough matches. They were fishing to the far bank, spraying
I suppose
casters.
back then as well, like having the best kit would have helped you win
Couldn't
more as
afford
well.
the best kit then, Adam.
No, but like those that could, it would have helped because
Yeah.
not that best kit wasn't available to everyone, was it?
No. Dorking, when I wasn't, that was before my Dorking days, I couldn't afford the top of the range pole.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I just wouldn't. It was too much money.
Yeah. But it's not just the poles; it's like rods, reels, all the
Everything.
terminal
Yeah, the
bits as well.
box.
Yeah, it's
You
just,
know, but that was what made it so special, and I think that's what probably got you recognised that you weren't using the very, very best.
Yeah.
But with the results you were getting were like, you know, how's that happening? And yeah, just so if people are watching that is a real good picture. That was a match fishing front page. That
April 1997.
the RC Adam. How many years is that?
A lot.
Great picture. That I think Brian Gay might even have took that picture. And I remember I didn't even know he took it, and I got it from the shops to get the match fishing magazine every month.
Just to make you feel even older, Des, I was 3 then.
Really, Adam? Did you have hair then?
Probably not.
I think it's great to be able to have that, and I probably should show more people, but I'm probably a bit like
Yeah.
the hairstyles. I was a bit like don't really want to show many people what was on my head there.
No, there's some absolute gems
Yeah.
in here, to be fair, and it's nice to look back on and remember stuff like this,
Yeah.
isn't it? Obviously now this sort of thing doesn't really exist.
Doesn't
and it's
exist.
such a shame.
It is a shame, really, because I think for an angler to look back like on that, I think it's massive. You think of these pictures, Mark Addy there, the
Yeah.
England manager. You got Billy Knott. We used to do some at Billy Knott. It was at Morelands Farm. It was a team thing, and yeah, that was before I even joined Dorking.
But like going back to my point of social media, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is obviously I know you're very active on there and post a lot of stuff, but do you think having people like you posting on there has made the average angler become better because of the easy access to information in terms of videos and social media?
100%.
Because I think
I get messages from people, and I can show you a message what I got yesterday.
well, that's it. It's easy to contact you now, whereas back in 1997, like here,
You'd have to come and watch.
well, you'd either have to watch or have your phone number, otherwise you
Yeah.
wouldn't.
We never had a mobile phone
No.
then.
Well, yeah,
So
true.
I phone the landline. But I get messages quite often. I obviously get messages all the time about lots of other things, but the nice messages I get is there's I'd just like to thank you. Please keep, I've come on. A lot of ones I've just got back into fishing. I've watched the YouTube your videos and stuff like that, and it's helped me massively. That
Yeah,
you
because
would never get that in this.
I think a lot of people sort of assume that you don't give everything away on the videos, which is probably wrong of people to think that.
That's up to them. But I've
because
always,
I know that you
I
when we
always
do
try.
well,
People,
you're the
people-
worst person to go film with because you always want to carry on fishing.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
It in the nicest way. Like
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way, but because you just want to catch fish and you just love fishing, you're also not going to sit there and do the wrong thing that's not going to catch fish
No.
just for the sake of a video.
Yeah, I always say to Zolt, look, we need to try and get this because that's the most important part of this
Yeah.
style of fishing.
And giving that sort of information away, whether people, believe it or pick up on it or whatever, those that do take it on board makes them become
Yeah.
better anglers, which then in turn makes it harder for people like you to stay ahead.
The standard of angler nowadays is so high,
Yeah.
I think, from how it used to be.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think it's massive, and that a lot of that, or most of it, I would say, has come from social media, YouTube, coaching,
Yeah.
all them things put together. And you can only try, the things that I've learned from not just myself fishing, but other anglers, and you're sticking that out to people.
Well, that's one of the things we're trying to portray across in the Coaching and Coachable was, what you film and what you say does work because people like Zolt,
Well, yeah. The only problem with Zolt is what would you call it?
you didn't listen.
Your no, not listen. It's his reactions.
Yeah, he's a little
It's
slow
just
on the
a bit
uptake.
slow.
Yeah.
It's like I can actually watch his float go under or dink and go Zolt, and then he strikes, and I'm like, that's quite a lot of time
But
lapse.
I'm much better now
Mm,
than I used to be.
well, you just imagine what it used to be. But this is what.
But
you
that's
know,
what we tried to put
this is
across
what we
in
try
that
and put
series,
across.
wasn't it? It's
And the amazing thing is, some of the films that we actually do, and you get a close up on the float. Your float goes like that, and you wouldn't see that. You'd have to have a pair of binoculars.
yeah.
And then literally a split second after that, it goes like that. It's, do you know what I mean? I've
Yeah,
watched it
no,
a
I've
few
seen it,
times
yeah.
and think, Christ, that fish has actually got that in his
Yeah.
gob.
And a lot
You
of
see
people would
it
just
like-
sit there and think, oh, it's a line
yeah.
or whatever.
And sometimes it is.
Yeah,
I'm trying
but-
to read them between the, but the reactions are, the reactions in striking, they're pretty desperate sometimes with Zolt. I remember we done it at Marston Fields, didn't we? And I remember he was fishing down the edge.
I remember sitting there and watching his float absolutely fly under, and he just sat there.
Yeah, he was like, oh,
And I was like, you going to strike?
yeah, that's gone under. He's like, no, it ain't. It's like he blinks and the float's still there and it's actually gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, them days, unfortunately they have gone and they're never going to come back.
No, it is a shame because, like I say, I remember the sort of the last of the angling times and the few results that I had in there at the time. It was like, oh, I'm in the
Yeah.
angling times,
That's right. Yeah.
and you cut them out and keep them in little books like this.
It's
and
funny though as well. Looking back, you look at like there's a picture of Will Ray's in there. Looks like he's just come out of his nappies. Do you know what I mean?
Is that him?
Billy Knott, yeah, that's
That's
him.
Will
That's
Ray's,
Will. Yeah.
Didn't even
Grant
recognise him.
Albert's in here as well. There's a picture of Grant. He looks like he's just come off of. That's not Grant, obviously. I don't know where he is.
Yeah, we're going to have to
But,
overlay
yeah,
some of these
there's
shots.
Grant, look.
Yeah.
In his probably youth. So yeah,
He's got a full head of hair as well.
he
doesn't he?
has. Yeah, that was a proud moment. The Kamazan hat from my area. That was huge. Unfortunately, all my caps, I think I got 4 or 5. They all just rotted out, and I chucked them out.
You know, what does that got a date on it?
Don't know. I normally used to put a little thing.
1999.
Yeah, see, back in the day. Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to get that cap, like 20 plus, wasn't it, to get a cap?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, no
Times
more.
have changed. Times have changed, and the fishing's have changed. And yeah, it's nice to go back. It's nice to go back through that stuff. I got pictures of the Kent Canal. When I said
Yeah.
the Kent Canal, I should just take a picture of them. Not me in the shot. I should just
Just
take
a picture
a
of the
picture
fish,
like
yeah.
loads of fishing keep nets and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we'll
not-
overlay some of them because there's
yeah.
some corkers in there. Isn't
Yeah, there is. There's some nice fish in there. I've got some big roach and red that I wish I weighed.
there? Mm.
'Cause
Yeah,
they
that
are,
one
like-
rod's massive.
Yeah, I used to have some like 4-pound tench. There'd be a roach up by the side of it. You think, that's nearly as big as the tench, that.
Might have had a
So,
British record.
Yeah, you never know. So, yeah. But
Um,
yeah, it you know, social media is what it is. I think it's massive. It's never going to go away now.
No, it's only going to grow, I think.
But as a professional angler, it also comes with its pressures as well. It does. It does come with pressures in a different way, because you are thinking about it all the time.
Yeah.
Because you're all,
Well, it's an important part of your job role now, isn't it? It's,
and I always like to write positive stuff if I can. You know what I mean, I want to just.
yeah, no one wants to read negative.
I don't want to
or-
write negative stuff, and you know, you always write positive stuff. For like, I you know, I want to do well. I want to say to people that that's how I've caught my fish. Because I go. The nice thing for me is I go all over I go to lots and lots of.
Yeah, you're not a one venue
No,
wonder.
I go to
you
different
go everywhere,
venues,
don't you?
and I'm hoping people can take little bits out of each little bit and put it into their fishing,
Yeah.
and hopefully catch them more fish. So yeah,
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like I say, media and social media in terms of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, I would say is going to continue to grow. And
I think it's definitely on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It ain't stopping.
not anytime soon.
And it's for people. It's you know, it's so easy to sit there on an evening. Get
oh,
their
you
phone.
you could learn how to fish a venue without even going there.
Exactly.
As scary as that is.
You don't need to message me anymore.
No, just look at my Facebook.
That's the worst. That is the worst. The worst message you get, because I try and message like literally everybody that contacts me on like Messenger rather than Facebook. You know, just like private messages, and they say, "Des, I'm going to a lake. It's not fishing very well. It's got some F1s, it's got some carp, it's got some silvers. How would you go about it?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a long." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is like one of the worst messages you get. But yeah, you just try like and think, well, look, this is where I've been going. I can only tell you what's been happening. Like, but yeah, but like people love it, and the nice thing is they send you back and say, yeah, brilliant information. I've sort of won my section or
Yeah,
framed
it's
the map,
nice to hear,
which is
isn't it?
nice. You know,
Yeah.
it keeps you going. So yeah.
The next one that I've got, you're going to like this.
Mm.
And then the next one we're gonna start with. We need to change the
Oh, Salt, you've got to change a battery.
Honestly, this guy. It's just as well.
You
we're
just
not
don't
doing it.
understand what we're having to work with people, honestly.
Yeah, but they all stick up for him.
I know.
Right? They all stick up for him all the time, saying, "Des, you're picking on him."
Yes, you do.
Yeah, no, I don't pick on you, Zolt. So anyway, we're going to change the batteries now.
Just change the batteries, yeah, and pick it back up in a sec.
Be back shortly, then.
Cover that window.
Well, yep.
We're back after Zolt's technical difficulties.
We're used to that, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, I'm used to it anyway.
Supposed to be working with professionals here, people. I don't know about that.
We'll see how it ends before I comment on that one.
So, controversial topic, Des.
Oh
And
no,
I know this-
I don't even know. And by the way, I don't even know what Adam's coming
No,
out with
it
here.
doesn't, but I know this is one that you feel.
Can I guess? Is it why I left the England team?
No.
Oh,
But, well, I mean, we can talk about
no,
that if you want it.
no, you come with the list.
So, overshotted rigs. How do you feel
Oh.
about them, mate?
Well, it's not my favourite thing, because I don't go to the venues that actually allow it, really, apart from Tunnel Barn and things like that. But my honest opinion is, I just don't think it's good for the long-term jeopardy of fishing.
Because of
Well, I see it I've watched some of the competitions on, people filming, the competitions around the country, and I just see it and I just think, I don't know.
it's one of those things, isn't it? I think it's a great method. It obviously works, but there's a lot of people that are really not a fan, isn't there?
Yeah, the buts is the difference. And I just think it takes that's totally my opinion. I think it just takes the art. Every way you fish is it's got an art to it.
Yeah, there's obviously people that do overshotted rigging better than others, because
Yeah.
there's certain people that win a lot more than other people
Yeah.
doing it. But I think it's a lot less, personally, I think it's a lot less skillful than fishing with, nice, light, shallow rigs, and back how it used to be prior to this sort of method taking over.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of people agree. I actually done a live Q&A with Winning Ways the other night,
Yeah.
and I think Andy, Jamie are in the same way of thinking.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic way of catching fish, well, weight-wise,
Yeah.
the number-wise. the species we're talking about are F1s.
Yeah, because it doesn't work for carp, does it? I mean,
Not
you
really.
catch
You
odd
get an
ones
odd
and-
un,
yeah, but
and you
it's
get an
not-
odd eye doing it. I
Yeah.
know they're fishing for eye doing it
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. But I just think, I think people must look at that. I did when I seen a big competition at Tunnel earlier in the year. I was just, it come on and everyone's doing it,
Yeah, it's not.
and I was just like,
I think if you're, I'm going to put, how do I put this? If you're of a certain generation, i.e., the young ones that are coming through,
it
They-
fits into their
yeah, they love
way.
it.
Yeah,
If you're not, I think there's a lot of people that really do despise it.
yeah. No, I think you're right. I don't. I would have to do it if I went to like certain venues, and I was going there competing. I would. You have to do it.
Oh yeah, you cannot compete if you don't
No,
do it on
because
certain
if you're
places.
on a certain amount of fish fishing shallow
Mhm.
and you don't do it, you will not catch enough.
Yeah.
If you're on a pile, and
Oh,
you
you're
try-
going to catch a shed load.
yeah,
if you do
know,
it, yeah.
you're just going to empty it, and it's brilliant as well when you're fishing up against cover
Mm.
because it's just like fishing, like you just go against it, dunk, dunk,
Yeah.
dunk, and yeah, it. I just wish I just wish it'd go away.
Mm.
That's my opinion. Having a little float on,
Yeah.
fishing a tighter line, getting everything nice. That is a leveler.
It is because
It is a leveler.
not everyone can fish shallow, quote unquote, properly.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as sticking a jig or a couple of shots on a piece of line, is it?
But I don't know what's going to happen with it. I don't know. I think if you, the people that I've spoke to about it, if I stayed with a guy down at Whiteacres last week, and he said, "Oh, I actually quite enjoy it."
It's one of them.
Because
Like,
he's
certain
like-
people will enjoy it, won't they?
Yeah, because
But-
he's not going to those venues all the time.
Yeah, I think if you going to those venues where it dominates, you soon get really cheesed off with it, don't
Yeah. Yeah, I actually spoke to someone. I'm not going to mention the names, and he done really well on it. And he said, he said I got bored of it. He
Mm.
said I literally sat here for 10 hours doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Literally just like dunk.
I suppose it's no different to any other method like bleak fishing or something, for instance.
But there's an art. There's more of an art to it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? There's more about actually. I don't know. It's more of achievement.
Mm.
When you catch on a float, when you see a float go under.
yeah.
And I know there's some very good anglers. They won't do it. They will not do it.
Mm.
And that tells you, I think, that it's not quite
Not quite right.
right.
But it obviously works.
It does work. It works. It's deadly. I have done it.
I think with everyone's done
And
it because
you've
you have
got
to do
to do
don't you? Yeah.
Um,
I knew it was a topic that you're.
yeah, I have a bit of a grizzle about it. I had to go at Callum about it the other day. He's like, well, it's like you got to get it right, haven't you? And I'm like, yeah, it's sort of, I suppose.
It's just a bit of a hot topic, isn't it? That maybe not now that it's gone freezing cold, but this year,
Not glad it's gone freezing cold.
no more overshotted rigs.
No, not really.
But-
It is one of them. It's everybody's got their own opinion. My opinion, I just rather go back to how it was, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat as well, mate.
You
To
know,
be fair,
It's just another.
Give me a little
It's another
3B8.
spanner in the works, isn't it?
yeah, give me a little 3B8 Chianti.
Yeah.
any day.
That's what you loved, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's great. But that is like that. The amazing thing about all these overshotting rigs is the amazing thing is you go with these tiny little floats trying to do the same thing,
Don't catch as much, do you?
and you go there do that with a piece of line on it,
Yeah.
crude as you like, really.
And you
they-
catch some great big ones
and
as
they
well.
drag the elastic
Yeah.
out, and you think, but even so, it's not in my So I certainly haven't got many top kits. I haven't got any top kits with that rig on.
No.
So, but if I was going to certain competitions around the country, I would have to
Yeah,
spend. a
you've
bit
got
of
to
time.
do it because otherwise you can't compete, can you?
No.
Effectively, you're wasting your money
No.
turning up there, not doing it.
So I think that answers that question quite
Quite
well, Adam.
diplomatic that was. Des,
It
to be
is,
fair.
yeah. I'm glad that Andy and Jamie the other night actually said the same sort of thing.
Mm.
They just said, no,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be happening. So let's see what happens in the future. It'd be interesting.
Well, there'll just be another method, won't there, that comes about.
Possibly, yeah. But we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Be
I certainly
interesting.
won't be coming up with it, I don't think.
Well, being as you mentioned England team, this sort of leads on to
Shouldn't even have mentioned that, should I really?
this sort of leads on to my next question, which was future goals. But being as you mentioned the England team, let's talk about England before, because obviously, for anyone that's not aware, you're not part of the England team now. You haven't been for
3 years, I think.
yeah. So obviously, you just do individual events, but
Yeah.
obviously, it was a big part of your angling career. You spent a lot of time, a lot of money
Mm.
fishing for your country.
That's one good point, actually, Adam. It did cost a lot of money.
I can imagine it did.
A lot of money. Yeah.
So
lot of money.
what was the thing that made you make the decision that I no longer want to represent my country? Because let's just put it out there, you wasn't kicked out.
No.
You left of your own accord.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know match fishing's changed a lot over the years, and the events now sort of, you can make a good living if you can win a lot of these events, which I would imagine was one of the factors that made you make that decision, but probably not the ultimate decision.
No, it wasn't. The money side of it wasn't like, of course I wanted to. I was, when I used to go away and there was good competitions, and like the fishing was good.
Yeah.
In all sorts, like natural venues and commercials. I used to be thinking, God, I'd love to be doing that. I'd love to, and then you see the results, you're like, God, why would I like to be there? And I think that's what made you think, actually, I don't want to be here. I want to be like doing what I enjoy.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that more than what I did with the England thing. And there was things going on as well, which I just got like the travelling, the pressure, and it all just drained you. Not sleeping at night, and ruined. You were wrecked when you come back.
Yeah, I can imagine, 'cause you got 2 weeks of driving,
Yeah.
God knows how many miles. Then you competition, practicing, prepping for 2 weeks solid. Some of these venues you're catching a lot of fish in hot weather as well, which in itself is taxing.
I think the last straw for me, really, apart from things I'm not going to talk about, there was a couple of things which I wasn't happy with. Was we fished in Serbia? This was Serbia. It wasn't the time we went over with no insurance. We were on the same canal, and it was catfish fishing, and these catfish were 5 drams.
That's a
Roughly,
bit like
they're
that.
like that. They are what they call
Spiky little buggers.
tadpoles, and every one of them's got spikes. So they got a spine on the dorsal and a spine on the pets. And literally every result would know them, because there's tons of them.
Then the little green ones.
Yeah, they do grow, but
Yeah,
they're horrible. They are dreadful. And basically, the fishing was that bad. If they wouldn't have been in there, the fishing would have been all right, because you'd have been fishing for odd skimmer, odd crassio, and odd roach.
Yeah.
But basically, what would happen is you ball it out long. You go out off the bottom, don't skimmer. You'd be like, oh yes. Next minute, whew, every single chuck you'd have a catfish that big. So the plan of that day was to fish for the cats. You had no choice.
Yeah.
If you went out there and tried to catch skimmers, you were never going to do any good. So you had to go with the flow, which a lot of fishing is like that now. Then that sort of fishing, it's like these goby things they fish for now.
Weird little creatures.
Weird, like that when they look at you like that, don't they? You know what I mean? Poor
Walk
little,
along the
poor
bottom.
little things, And anyway, these catfish, I caught 400. Sean walked my section on the first day. He said, "You've done brilliant. You've had like 420 catfish," and I did actually catch a couple of silverfish. And I literally, at the end of the match, 4 hours, my foot plate was just bright red with blood. Because you are fishing for your country, you are like going through the pain.
Yeah.
It is like getting stung by a very nasty stinger every time they stab you. And at the end, I could not move my finger. There's guys, result would probably, they wear like a chainmail glove, don't they?
Or they super glue their finger.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, and someone's done, "You've done absolutely brilliant." I looked at my foot plate, and it's just bread, and the blood is dripping out of my finger, out of my thumb. And I just thought, I just don't want to do this anymore. It's just got, and there's a lot of that now. I think there's quite a bit. Like the England team went to France this year. A lot of goby fishing.
Yeah.
At least they don't
They don't.
they don't spike you. And I just thought I had to do it the next day. And like I must have lost a litre of blood over the 2 days. And I just thought, with everything else, with all the pressure, with all the like, I just thought I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
And-
especially when you can compete for life-changing sums
Yeah,
of money.
and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not enjoying summer, I did enjoy parts of it. We had some fantastic laughs when we used to travel together, and everything. But there is a serious side to that state of fishing for your country, and I just didn't. I don't know. I went over the cliff. I just sort of went over the cliff, and that finished me off in a way. It was just like. And there, like I said, there was a couple of I'm not going to talk about the other things, but yeah, there was a couple of things I wasn't happy with. I could see things happening that I wasn't, not. I just thought, why am I bothering with this? This is just like, it's just stupid. I'm just wasting my time, money, and effort.
Yeah, and it's a lot of both, isn't it?
Yeah. And when you get back and you feel like,
And like I mentioned earlier, I don't think the England team get the recognition they deserve
no, they
off a
don't.
lot of the
I
public.
remember going back. You've
I
just
know exactly
reminded-
what you're going to go
that
on about.
I had a message. We were coming back from, I don't know what country it was, and I was traveling with Sean. I used to travel with Sean Ashby literally all the time, and we had a tough competition, and yeah, we didn't get a medal. And on the way back, Sean's got a message on his phone. Sean, if Sean watches, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
And we basically got a medal. Sean got a message saying, I can't remember exact words, but it was something like, the England team needs to change. This is ridiculous and all that. And I'm like, this guy hasn't got a clue.
No.
Come and watch, come over, right? Get involved just for 1 year
Yeah.
and see what it's all about.
I think a lot of people would be like, absolutely.
They
no.
would be absolutely gobsmacked. Honestly, I'm not just sticking up for myself. I'm sticking up for the rest of the team members, because they haven't got a clue. The heat, the prep, the ground bait,
cost.
the cost, the transport, come and sit in a van for 16 hours of your own vehicle, revving the absolute knackers out of it. Do you know what I mean? Then you've got to get back, in all
it's
of
the time
it.
away from your family and everything
Yeah.
as well. It's
And I just thought I just went to the stage of like, I've had it. I've had enough of it. And I just basically just text Mark and said, I'm finished, and it was,
so obviously the England team is, that your time there is now gone. The last two and a half, 3 years.
3
around
years. I think
3
it's about
years.
3 years. I think.
You've obviously just focused on doing individual events. Got in a lot of finals.
Yeah.
Not yet. Could draw the right peg to.
No, that's
win
just
one.
standard stuff.
Obviously,
I
you
don't
won a
know,
Park Dean Masters. You've won 3 of those actually.
Yeah.
But you've been in Match This, Golden Reel, Feeder Masters multiple times.
Yeah. I should have won it this year if Cart would have counted. By the way, Adam.
Yes.
Lee Carey, if you're watching.
But yeah, I just wanted to know what your future goals are. Obviously, you're going to continue down that path, or is there other avenues that you want to explore?
I just enjoy what I'm doing. Yeah, I do miss some of the competitions that I probably want to get into. But I'm quite happy. I'm in a happy place.
Is it nice to be able to have that bit of freedom to pick and choose which events you do? And
It is, and that's the beautiful thing about being a full-time sponsored angler is I've got to do my work obviously, but I can then like work round Zolt, work round you, and say, look, I want to fish that this week. And obviously, it's lovely to go on a festival. Yeah, it costs you money to do it, obviously, but I'm not taking my holidays.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? That is the beautiful thing about being a full-time sponsored angler. And I used to be really jealous years ago of a few people around the country that were sponsored, fully sponsored. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about it is you can go and fish places and fish festivals. I think that's probably the biggest bonus of being a full-time angler. But
you obviously have to work hard to get in that position. Yeah. It's not something...
No, you don't just get it handed to you.
No. And it's a very privileged position to be in because, we're not... This sport isn't like football where there's millions of pounds to be thrown around.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that is the big bonus for me is I can just go off You know, I don't fish every festival because it just becomes too much.
No,
It
too
does.
much,
It
yeah.
does become too much.
It always amazes me how the people like Andy Power, for instance, how he stays so committed to doing all these qualifiers.
Yeah.
Because the amount of miles he does each year is.
But he's
just
young-ish.
ish, yeah.
But
But
that will. I'll tell you now, that will catch up on him.
like, it always amazes me, and I've got like a lot of admiration for people that do that because it's not easy.
No, it isn't.
People think, oh, it's great, you can fish in all the while. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, he does a lot of miles.
Yeah.
But at the moment, he's got no family.
Yeah.
You know, he's got no sort of responsibilities, as in probably owning a house
Yeah.
and all that. When you get that responsibility, that is a massive change in anybody's life. It doesn't matter if you're a fisherman or whatever. That comes with. Imagine Zolt having a baby.
No one needs another Zolt.
No, do you know what I mean? So that can change.
Yeah.
That can change overnight with anything. But I take him out often, and people say to me, "Oh," I said, "No, think about it. He
No, he
travels
works down
up
bloody
and
hard
down
to-
the motorway week in, week out."
I remember one. I think it was a couple of years ago. He drove from Whiteacres to Thirsk,
Yeah,
back down home, and then went back up to I think it was Hayfield or the
Yeah.
Oaks the next day. And
Yeah.
I was like,
It was last year.
yeah, absolutely. But with a family, he probably wouldn't be able to do that.
no, but you know he
But-
hasn't, and but
But as it goes,
Yeah.
he is putting as much time and effort. Where I'm different to him, a lot different in a way, because I think, I'll tell you what, I fancy going up like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
local Bitterwell Lake Tuesday,
Mhm.
fishing against, doing that, and I don't want to chase that all the time.
no, because I think you need a break from it.
You-
Because
you
otherwise
just
it
need
becomes
to-
so
yeah.
demoralising. Because
Yeah,
if
it can.
you have a run of drawing 10 bad pegs and catching nothing, because let's be honest, that's the reality.
That's what can happen.
That is the reality of those
Yeah.
competitions.
It gets you down.
Yeah, and I think it makes your angling ability worse as well because you're not actually learning anything.
No. And that that is what it is. But yeah, I just love what I'm doing. I think I've got a nice, doing this, doing that, bit of feeder fishing, trying to qualify for that, just everything really, just a nice mixed thing. The only thing I don't do much now is river fishing. I don't do as much river fishing as
But let's be honest, there's not really the competitions there
No.
apart from Riverfest.
Yeah.
And,
And then you need to commit to that like
Yeah.
massively, like with kit,
Mhm.
especially on the Y and places like
yeah,
that.
the
You
kit
need,
and the bait bill alone for there is
Yeah.
astronomical.
and you need to commit to it. And I just at the moment I just think if I commit to that, then you can't do everything.
No.
But yeah, at the moment it's just like plodding along nicely, try and get into some of the big competitions.
Is there one of them competitions that you really want to tick off?
I want to get them. Obviously, I'd love to fish the fish show, like fish that final. Well, I've done the team. We've done the England.
done very
things
well
there.
on that as well,
It was
mate.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They were really good competitions. It's a shame we don't do the team thing
Yeah,
anymore
it
on
is,
that.
yeah.
But of course, I'd love to win fish show.
Hmm.
I've never been in the final. I've been close. I've probably come home from some of the qualifiers and think I probably could have qualified. I've
Yeah.
lost a fish here and not quite got it right. But I've never been on a peg where I just think, oh yeah, job
Well,
done.
you know when it's your day, don't you? Because
Yeah.
everything just goes right and
Yeah, it's job done.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what that would be. I'll try. I'll keep going, and you just hope you get a peg and get in the final.
Mm.
But there's a lot of people that do a lot of effort in them and not even get a chance.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
A lot of people.
And unfortunately, that's a sad reality of match fishing because you're up against Lady Luck, and if you don't draw,
Yeah,
The
I
right
do like these competitions now where, say, there's 60 pegs for example, and there's three 20 peg sections, and you go through.
yeah, like Feeder Masters,
Yeah,
for instance.
I think that's a great.
I think
way.
Feeder Masters final as well is
Brilliant.
brilliant. Pays top 20.
Yeah.
That's a third of the people. Yeah, a third of the people that are there
Yeah.
walk away with some money.
Yeah.
That is.
I
me,
think
it's
for the future
fantastic.
of those competitions, especially the Maver, the Golden Reel,
Yeah.
I honestly think that Fisher has had its. Fisher was the first,
Yeah.
and that's got the TV coverage, and I think that will just keep going.
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
straight
it will because it's got the
because
backing
it's
of
got
Sky.
that.
and-
Yeah, it's got all that. But I think the other two competitions, personally, I think they've got to change their way of how they get the qualifiers through.
Yeah, because I mean, like we've both been in big finals, and
You're out of it.
you're fishing to win. Like, yes, there's £1,000 up for your section and stuff like that, and top three. But ultimately, you're there to win, and
Yeah.
when you don't win, it's so demoralising.
Yeah.
Especially if the venue fishes
Well,
bad
look at
as
Andy.
well.
Going back to Andy Powers, how many finals does he get into?
Yeah. He's been second twice at Fisher as well.
It doesn't matter.
I know, but that's what I mean.
But
like
it's all right because you come away from there thinking, actually, that was all right.
Yeah.
You know, but he's been in a lot of finals,
Mhm.
and it's hard to win.
It is, yeah.
Flipping hard,
Very hard.
especially when they don't get the weights.
No, Des. Let's not go into that one.
No, I just watched the thing the other day. I thought it's quite interesting. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's my goals really, just to carry on doing what I'm doing, enjoying it, Adam. That's, you know, I'm very competitive, but I also enjoy my fishing.
one of the things I was going to ask you is what does keep Des Ship so passionate about fishing? Because, like I mentioned earlier, he's the worst person, ladies and gentlemen, for packing up on a filming day. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
you
especially
just-
when we go on the River Wye and things like that.
Going out with him.
Problem is now I've got
Oh,
Zolt
yeah.
tagging along, so he wants to have a go.
But like, obviously, you just love fishing.
Yeah.
And I know you're very competitive, but what is it that keeps you so passionate about fishing? Because we go out with a lot of people for filming, and some of them are just like, "Yeah, job done, let's go home." Whereas you're like, "I just want to go fishing.
Yeah.
Just want to catch some fish."
Yeah, I think I've just been brought up with the sport. Yeah, obviously if you go to a venue and you're getting a carp every single chuck, you wouldn't be like, "Oh,
No.
come on, let's go." But we went out the other week to Larford catching them great big units.
It's great, isn't it?
Oh, it's like, what is next?
Yeah.
There's nothing better than your float going under thinking,
There's a massive eruption. and
yeah,
a load
it
of
could
elastic
be
on it,
£5 or £25.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. I could stay there like until it was dark, just
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch the biggest fish in the lake, basically on the pole,
Hmm.
and that's what drives along. Same as river fishing when we went on the Wye filming, and Zolt's like, "Have you ever caught a barb on the stick float?" Zolt's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, just let him hang on for another 2 or 3 hours, he'll be all right." And then he has a go, and it's brilliant, isn't it? And I always say, we said on that film, and we always try and make reality, if you've never done that, get into it, because there is nothing better than catching. It's not guaranteed, and you know, and you don't need a lot of equipment really. You can have a bait waiter on if you want, walk out in the river and
Have
fish
some
it.
fantastic fishing as well.
It is amazing, honestly, to catch barbel on a float, even on a feeder as well, obviously, but
It's better on a float.
it's
isn't it?
great, and you don't want to go home.
No.
I've got some pictures of barbel. I used to go with my brother. Well, I used to go on my own when I got a car. Honestly, I used to stand in the river all day, just lavering. Well, not lavering, because you couldn't afford that much bait then, but chucking in hemping casters and trying to catch barbel on a stick float. And then all of a sudden, your float would go under exactly the same, like with a gudgeon bite, and it'd be like a barbel.
Yeah, rod locks up and
Oh, and you
like
look
a tuna
then
on
you-
the end.
Yeah, you might hook 2, you might hook 10.
Yeah.
I've ran down the river with them because they're just like too big.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what keeps you going. I just love that, you know, river fishing. When I go pleasure fishing on rivers, things like that, and you're catching, I just think, what, I'm just going to catch. I don't know. You're going to hook some up massive in a minute.
You never know what you're going to catch, really.
No,
do you?
and
the thing.
that's what makes you want to just carry on. But yeah, I do hang it out a bit, I must admit.
No, but it's the enthusiasm is like it's
Yeah.
infectious. Like it's great to see. And I don't think
No, I'm thinking about what I have to do now while we're doing this. I'm also thinking about what rigs and hooks I've got to do for next week at Whiteacres.
But I think there's probably a lot of anglers at your level that, you know, they just go fishing because they want to win matches, for instance. They don't necessarily go because they enjoy fishing. It's just the competitive side, whereas you just love being out
I
on the
do
bank,
like, you
don't
know, when I'm fishing a match, I am trying to
Oh god, yeah.
win, but I'm also loving what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't think I'm doing any good unless it's absolutely rigid.
No, you're a liar about your weights as
No,
well.
I'm not,
You
Adam. I don't lie. I don't lie about my weights. I just get a little bit. I don't know. I'm just looking at other people, think I'm getting battered, and then you weigh in.
Ladies and gentlemen, he definitely lies about his weights.
No, I don't. I try not to. I got a new clicker now, so I should be all right for a while. So yeah, it's just what I've been brought up into, and you know, just love that fishing. Same with my brother. My brother's the same. He'd just go fishing, slap a pellet over all day, have a carpet chat, and you go, I love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it was just built into like the sort of family thing.
No, it's
really.
great. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So, Mr. Ship, we're going to wrap this up. I think we've been going for nearly 3 hours.
Is it that
so-
far? That long?
Nearly 3 hours, I think. 2.5 hours.
Are we gonna do a result?
I don't think the public would need to listen to that for.
I don't know,
3
but
hours, do they?
I wouldn't mind listening. I don't 3 hours, about half an hour.
Yeah.
It'd be yeah, that'd be interesting.
But yeah, I basically want to wrap it up, and what I want to wrap it up with is a question for the next guest. It can be any question, anything you want to ask.
Who's the next guest?
Might be Lee Carey.
How do you draw so well?
I think I know what his response will be to that.
Well, I don't know. That's a bit cruel, really. What question will I?
It can be anything.
Yeah, just want to think about something to do with fishing, don't we? Really?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
Oh.
better if it was to do with fishing.
Yeah. How do you think about overshotting? Yes, I like that. What's his thoughts on overshotting?
I'm sure he'll have a similar
Yeah.
opinion to you.
Well, no, you never know, do you?
never
He
know,
might
no.
like it because he fishes. He lives in a different area to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see what his opinion is. I think you should make that the first question,
Okay.
so it's nice and fresh in his mind. Get it out of the way. Yeah. What do you think about overshotting?
Well, there you go.
That's it.
Des Ship, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you very much, Adam, for having me on. Thanks, Zoltz, for the cups of tea and looking after us.
I think we may have to get you on again because we haven't even touched on a lot of things.
There's a
and-
lot of stuff, isn't there? I've been on this planet quite a long time. And I've been very, very fortunate, touch wood, to I think have my like what I've been through.
Yeah.
To go from fishing with my parents, my brother, fishing with like people like Steve Mayo, the Dorking team, and that's what I think. That's what a lot of young uns will never do now. They won't
No.
never fish for a team like I did,
No,
which
it's, unfortunately,
is
team
sad,
fishing
which is a shame, really.
Team fishing is
Yeah.
a dying art.
It
I
is,
think.
I think, and it's nice. I think it's great, and it's done me well over the years to do that, and it's made you a better person, a better angler.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, thank you very much for having me on, Adam.
No problem. So we'll wrap this up. There's only one more thing I want you to do, and that's I want you to sign a Superium carp pole for me because we're going to give one of these lucky viewers away.
What?
Give one of these lucky viewers a chance to win, should I say? A Superium carp pole.
Well, I didn't know that was coming.
Well, it's Christmas, Des, so we've got to give something away. haven't
who's made that decision?
we? I've made that decision.
Have you, Adam?
Yeah. So
So well,
I'm
that'll
gonna-
be interesting for you next year, then.
Well, yeah, be all right.
Well, fair play to you,
Can
mate.
come off a different budget.
That's a mega that's a mega giveaway. That is.
But yeah, we'll get one in, get you to sign it, and
Yeah.
we'll give that away as a Christmas present. All I want the guys to do is like and share the video
Yeah.
on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel.
Is that all you got to do
That's
for
all
to
you've
win
got to do because it's
a
Christmas.
1,500 quid poll?
Yep.
Well, good luck with that, guys. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Des.
Not a problem.
It's been a
You
pleasure.
know that. Yeah. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you all.